Imagine being born as the top-tier daughter of a noble house, but having zero memories of it. Our girl starts her new life as the eldest daughter of a marquis, yet the details are super fuzzy. Despite the amnesia, she kept her past life knowledge, making the moment she was stolen from her family clear as day. This poor kid was kidnapped almost immediately. A year after her winter birth, a random maid smuggled her out of the mansion into the summer night. The carriage ride was the beginning of a life or death struggle. The kidnapper was just some teenage maid with brown hair, but she never explained why she was doing this. She just carried the baby away in silence. Dumped in the middle of the woods, she realized that even with 2 lifetimes of brain power, a baby can't survive the wild. She was left all alone with 0 chance of survival. She cried out for help, desperate to at least meet her real mother before the end. Her internal pleas were finally answered as a mysterious woman heard her cries and approached the basket. The woman looked down at her with a confused frown and asked why there was a baby in a place like this. It looks like our girl just found a lifeline. The mysterious woman pulls the crying baby close, sensing its hunger. She realizes this little one just needs some milk and a bit of comfort. Relief hits as she finds she can still provide milk. Looking down, she is struck by the baby's beautiful golden hair and green eyes. Those colors are a direct match to her late husband. This small moment in the woods marks the true beginning of her new life. Under the soft light of the forest, the couple decides to raise the child as their own. Right then and there, they became a real family. 3 years pass in the blink of an eye. Our girl is now living a peaceful life with her new name, Ashira. At 3 years old, Ashira is a total bundle of joy. Her uncle scoops her up for the walk back home after a long day of playing. Meet Uncle Rhoden, the 19-year-old younger brother of her new mum. He cannot get enough of how well-behaved his niece is. Welcome to the Barta Viscounty, a quiet territory tucked away far from the royal capital's reach. Uncle Rhoden is more than just a babysitter. He is the heir to the territory and a successful business head. He always makes time for his niece, even when she has a lot to say about the house she built for her stuffed rabbit. Things were pretty grim for the family after they got swindled a few generations back. Thanks to Rhoden's natural business talent, the estate is finally seeing some green again. While nature is usually on their side, the same cannot be said for the neighbours. This country has been locked in a struggle with 3 different nations since right before our girl was born. These greedy neighbours have been picking fights for centuries, all hoping to snag some of the land's natural abundance. It is a constant game of defence against their envious power plays. The year she was born marked a turning point when 2 of those nations finally teamed up to declare war. Despite the rising tension, home is a safe haven where she can simply rush to her mother's side. Meet 21-year-old Rose, the woman who found Ashura in the woods and raised her as her own. She is the heart of the household, greeting her daughter with a warm welcome home, Ashura. Ashura dives into her mother's arms for a big hug. This woman is her savior and the person she loves most in the world. The front door swings open as a new visitor makes his entrance. Rose greets Link with a cheerful welcome home. Introducing Link, a 21-year-old cousin who helps run the family business. He is a silver-haired noble from a military background with the skills to match. The group gathers in the kitchen to discuss the current state of their crops. Link is shocked by how healthy the plants look compared to their past struggles. Rhoden and Link talk about how they will finally harvest rice this year. Everything is finally coming together for the estate. Rhoden leans down to give his favourite niece a gentle head pat. She just giggles as the adults keep talking business. While they celebrate the harvest, Ashura reveals her hidden advantage. In her previous life, she was actually the daughter of a farmer. Ashura explains that her grandfather, Viscount Darius Bartia, was obsessed with the rice he tasted while travelling abroad years ago. He tried to grow the seeds on his own land for years, but he failed every single time because he had no idea what he was doing. Rhoden was shocked to hear they were attempting rice in a field he visited just last year, especially since wheat was the only logical crop. Since she was only 2 and could barely speak, our MC just pointed at the dirt and asked for water as a subtle hint for the adults. She ended up taking matters into her own hands by snagging some plants and raising them herself inside water-filled storage barrels. The experiment was a total success and produced actual grain, leaving Rhoden and Link with their jaws on the floor. This year, the family finally leveled up and turned the entire field into a proper rice paddy to start some serious farming. Rhoden promises they will finally see golden rice fields when autumn arrives. Dinner is served after Ashura's stomach starts making some serious noise. She is already dreaming of the day she can trade this bread for a bowl of rice. The family gathers for a simple meal of day-old bread. Even if the crust is a bit hard, everyone is just happy to be eating together. Conversation turns to the reality of their business. The military draft has taken away 3 of their workers, making things tough for the trading company. While the estate feels peaceful, the kingdom is actually at war. Link explains that they only have a moment of peace because their enemies are busy with a civil war. Drafts are mandatory for everyone and can happen multiple times if the war drags on. Our MC can only hope her family never gets the call to serve. This house doesn't employ any servants by choice. The family believes in living just like their people to truly understand what the land needs. Back when Rhoden started his trading business at just 16, his cousin Link was right there to help him get things off the ground. Link was actually being trained to inherit a noble title, but being highborn came with a major downside. Neither of them had any idea how to take care of themselves, much less cook a simple pot of soup. The company workers actually felt so bad for them that they started helping out in the kitchen. Seeing their bosses struggle brought everyone closer together and made the workplace vibe way better. Despite the early struggles, they still made room in their lives to take in and raise our MC. She might be tiny right now, but she's already dreaming of ways to be helpful to her kind family. Morning arrives at the estate as Ashera wakes up with a giant yawn. She ended up sleeping in her uncle's room because of a little cold, and she gives him a cute greeting as he checks on her. Over in the kitchen, Link is already up and getting the tea ready. He greets the late sleepers with a smile as they finally wander into the room. Link pulls the MC into a big hug while she adorable announces how hungry she is. He promises to get some soup warmed up right away, but Rhoden gets distracted by something he sees through the kitchen window. The baker Deke has finally made it. Time to grab some of that fresh bread. Deke walks in with a massive smile and a basket full of carbs. After some quick greetings, things get serious as he asks the guys for a private chat in the office. Rhoden drops Ashera off in the play area so the adults can talk business. Once they are settled, Deke explains that the local bakeries are drowning in leftover bread they cannot sell. Wasting food is basically a crime, but the baker explains that they cannot just bake less because they need backup supplies for emergencies. It is a tough spot since bread has such a short shelf life. The guys start brainstorming ways to fix the supply chain, like having every shop bake the same thing, but that vibe feels way too much like rationing, which is never a good look for business. Ashera is listening in and totally feels for the guy, but she has bigger problems. Her stomach lets out a loud growl because she is officially starving. She does not want to be a brat and interrupt their serious meeting, but that fresh bread smell is calling her name. Our girl decides to take matters into her own hands and sneak off. She sneaks into the kitchen and spots some leftovers on the table. It is bread from yesterday, and one bite confirms it is way too hard to eat. A bowl of soup would solve everything, but the stove is way out of her reach. Since she cannot handle fire yet, that plan is a no-go. The dry bread is basically a sponge for all the moisture in her mouth. Her luck changes when she spots a familiar appliance sitting on the shelf. A memory of her mom using the machine flashes through her mind. It is a classic oven toaster, and she recognizes the device immediately. If the adults can use it, she might be able to manage as well. She checks the counter and finds a stash of seasonings to work with. Our girl gets to work by brushing olive oil over the surface and adding a sprinkle of salt. She carefully slides the pieces into the oven to let them toast. The oven timer finishes as a delicious smell fills the air. Perfectly crispy rusks are now on the menu. Ashera takes a big, crunchy bite and remembers her past life as a kitchen pro who made everything from scratch. This oven is so simple that even her mum could manage it, and the results are perfectly warm and crispy. Turning stale bread into a snack was her specialty back in the day, so she decides to kick things up a notch. A little sprinkle of sugar while they are still hot makes them taste even better. Our girl decides to go all in and toast the entire batch of leftovers to help out the local baker. She drags a chair over to reach the counter, putting her back into it with a heavy lift. Suddenly the chair wobbles and she goes down hard with a loud crash. Everyone in the room is in a total panic, screaming her name as they rush to her side. The impact was rough, and now our MC is clutching her chest because she cannot catch a breath. Concerned adults hover over her, terrified while she gasps for air. Uncle Rhoden checks her over and luckily finds no broken bones, but the hit to her chest definitely knocked the wind out of her. He tells her to stay calm and starts using his magic to help her lungs relax. A beautiful purple light surrounds her, and Ashera is mesmerized by the glowing magic. Her lungs finally open up, allowing her to take a deep, relieved breath as the pain fades away. Rhoden tries to comfort the crying baby, telling her she is fine since she has the lungs to scream. He passes her off to Rose, who pulls her close to soothe the pain of that nasty fall. The warmth of her mum's magic starts to work its wonders, making the pain vanish in an instant. It feels incredible, but Ashera worries about the toll it is taking on her mum's already weakened body. Rose brushes off her own illness, claiming her cold is long gone for her. Nothing hurts more than seeing her precious daughter in tears. Our girl is feeling the love and gives her mum the biggest hug ever. With the emergency over, Rose turns her gaze toward Rhoden, who immediately realizes he is in the hot seat. A quick glance at the clock reveals that they have completely lost track of time. Rhoden realizes they were so busy talking shop that they totally forgot to feed the kid, and it is already past lunchtime. Rose drops some truth bombs, reminding Rhoden that no amount of business is worth neglecting family. He needs to get his priorities straight and start paying more attention to what is happening right in front of him. Rhoden feels the heat and apologizes to a very hungry Ashera. While he stays back to face the music, Link heads out to find the baker so they can finally get some food in those empty stomachs. Rhoden spots a plate of well-toasted bread and asks what he is looking at. Seeing the mess, it finally clicks why the seasoning bottles were scattered all over the floor. Our MC admits she was just hungry and decided to take matters into her own hands. The adults are stunned that a toddler whipped this up and immediately ask for a sample. Ashera gives the green light while she keeps munching on her own snack. She hands over a slice to her mum, and the pair wastes no time digging in. It is officially taste test time for her new culinary creation. It is an instant hit, and they cannot believe that plain bread can taste this much like a dessert. Rhoden is especially feeling the savoury version, noting how much the olive oil and salt level up the flavour. Our girl suggests adding butter to make it even better, and her mum is totally down for a new batch. Rose is clearly proud of her daughter's elite palate. The baker takes a bite and is immediately sold on the new snack. Under Ashera's guidance, they have already whipped up several flavour variations to test. Link and Rhoden are shocked by the bread's transformation. It went from basic soup filler to a rich, crispy treat that stays tasty even after it cools down. Our MC is feeling full and happy after the taste test. Dig is a huge fan of the molasses version, loving that deep sweetness it brings to the table. The secret to the flavour is molasses, which is the raw form of black syrup. It has a unique taste, but it is also packed with nutrition. They pack the leftover treats into a jar for later. Ashera even wants her mum to add a cute ribbon to make the snack look extra special. Rhoden is so impressed that he decides to register the recipe immediately. Our girl is just glad her first dish in this new world was a hit with everyone. Just like that, her simple rusks are fast-tracked into becoming an official product. Ashera is left blinking in confusion at how quickly things are moving. In the middle of these peaceful mountains, the crew is currently rolling through the green hills on a new adventure. The carriage finally comes to a halt as they reach their destination. Ashera peeks out from the door to get a first look at the new spot. It is a total vibe check with nothing but fresh air and clear skies. The smell of the meadow makes for a perfect landing spot. Uncle Rhoden reaches out to help. She is already leaning toward the grass and ready to sprint. Uncle Rhoden is not taking any chances and scoops her up. Being way too protective to let her wander off is just his style. The Guardians just cannot resist carrying her the rest of the way. Some familiar faces are already waiting at the end of the path to say hello. Deke and the group are already there to welcome them. They are super hyped to have Lady Ashera visiting and ready to show her around. Selt gets to work laying out some sheets for the picnic. He used to be a butler for a noble family before joining the trading company. He lost his previous job after being framed for something he didn't do, but luckily the family took him in. Ashera thinks he is a genuinely good guy. This is Toy, a 30-year-old farmer who is shocked by just how much water rice actually needs to grow. His grandfather is also amazed that the plants don't just rot while soaked. Seeing Ashera's barrel set up last year was a total game changer for them. Even though they are professionals, they admit they learned everything from our girl. She was putting in work at the company almost every day to help them out. The first harvest was tiny, but it meant the world to them, even with only one mouthful to go around. They were both crying tears of joy. Ashera gets hit with that nostalgic flavour and almost loses it herself. She knows exactly how much effort these guys put in to make this happen. The farmers start prepping the paddy fields based on everything they learned from our girl's barrel cultivation method. She sticks to a supervisor role, letting them handle the heavy lifting while she watches the plan come together. Staying low-key to avoid acting too old for her age actually worked out well. Just as she is feeling proud of her acting skills, the crowd starts gathering for a break. She skips over to greet Toy with her usual high energy. Even with the workday in full swing, she is clearly the star of the show. It is snack delivery time, and she presents a decorated jar filled with treats for the crew. The workers are more than ready for a recharge after a long shift. The whole team huddles up to see what the mysterious bottle is all about. They have been grinding in the sun all day, so a surprise from the little lady is exactly what they need. Uncle Rhoden claps his hands to get everyone in line and tells them to scrub up. He is ready to turn this snack break into a full focus group for their latest creation. The crunch factor is real as the reviews come in from the group. Whether it is the sweet, salty, or the garlic ones that give a stamina boost, everyone is vibing with the new snack. Link presents the bottled rusks, pitching them as the ultimate portable snack. They stay fresh for 10 days and officially hit the market today. The workers are already fans of the taste and the user-friendly packaging. Even kids who can't read yet can understand the cute illustrations on the label. Bread waste used to plague the entire nation before this recipe went public. Once the secret hit the streets, it transformed the food industry across Earth, Chris. A dedicated workshop opens up in the Viscounty to turn bakery leftovers into treasure. It creates light work for local women, making the whole operation a community win. Link double-checks if she is really okay with giving the recipe away for free. She just beams and says it is perfectly fine. Her logic is simple. If the bread and the people are happy, she is happy too. Rhoden is getting hit in the feels by her pure heart. Rhoden pulls her into a hug, calling her his little angel. Meanwhile, his father is fuming because they could have used that recipe to pay off the family debts. The current Viscount was losing his mind over the missed profits. He was furious that they did not slap a usage fee on the recipe. Rhoden keeps it chill, reminding everyone that the recipe belongs to the company and is legally in the name of Ashura. Basically, his father has zero say in the matter. Rhoden argues that boosting the company reputation is worth more than a quick buck anyway. Link is all for it, confident that everything is going to turn out well. Rhoden just takes a sip of his tea, casually mentioning he released it for free because he knew his father would try to capitalize on it. Ashura is practically glowing with admiration for her uncle and his big brain energy. Link jumps in, desperate for a little bit of that spotlight himself. Unfortunately, Ashera hits him with the cold shoulder, treating him like he is totally irrelevant. Link is about to pout, but Ashera suddenly remembers a time he actually did something cool. She brings up the day he handled some scary thugs who tried to mess with the company. Apparently, he took out a whole group of troublemakers solo just a few days ago. To Ashera, he looked like a total hero in that moment. Link is soaking up the spotlight, fishing for even more compliments after his heroic story. He is glowing while trying to keep the good vibes rolling as Rhoden watches on, satisfied that they finally have the kid on their side. Even though he can be a bit silly, everyone knows he is the GOAT when things get serious. But the nostalgia trip has to wait because the foreman is calling an end to break time and getting everyone back into the fields. Ashura is already zooming off toward the rice paddies, her mind focused on checking the crops for any signs of disease. She is moving full speed ahead through the tall grass when her footing suddenly vanishes. Link swoops in just in time to snatch her up before she takes a dive into the mud. He points out the big warning sign she missed, reminding her that this place is a bottomless trap for anyone her size. Flashback to the early planting days. When the rice seedlings were first being put into the ground, the entire area was a giant mud pit waiting for a victim. She took one wrong step and started sinking faster than she could process. The panic hits hard as the mud pulls her under, forcing Link to launch himself into the muck to keep her from sinking. Link is waist deep in the sludge, holding a terrified Ashura while the local farmer rushes over to apologize. Turns out she managed to find the deepest spot in the entire paddy, making the rescue way more intense than anyone expected. The trauma was real, for a while. Every time she remembered that mud pit at night, she would burst into tears and worry her whole family. It is honestly pretty awkward having adult memories in a toddler body. Once she cools off, the embarrassment hits hard, especially since she actually ended up wetting the bed. It seems like her physical reactions are still totally tied to her current age. Back in the present, Ashura promises she is done with that mud trap for good. Even she has to admit that one near-death experience was way more than enough. Link is not taking any chances. He grabs her and vows to protect her from any more accidental mud dives, even if she stays on the path. He keeps a firm grip on her while she checks out the rice. The tillering looks solid, and more stems are finally starting to sprout. Flashback to her previous life. Farming was never really her thing, but she always got dragged back to help out at her parents' fields on her days off. Dealing with nature is a grind, whether it is crops, livestock, or fishing. People really pour their souls into the work just to keep everyone fed and connected. Ashura gives a little prayer for the food, knowing how much work goes into every meal. Link suddenly hoists her up, ready to talk business about the rice harvest. But she is already zooming off towards some plants she noticed earlier. Looking at the greenery, she realizes the local flora is almost identical to her old world. She starts thinking about the spring tempura she misses, like taro buds and mugwort, which have not turned up here yet. She sighs, wondering if those specific plants just do not exist in this land. Link steps up behind her with an update, just as she looks up to address him directly. A local farmer approaches with a basket full of greens, asking for another appraisal of her watercress. Link agrees to help, though he notes how often he has been doing these checks lately since wild watercress is a common sight. Ashura is hyped to see a familiar face in the vegetable world, recognizing it as a common garnish for meat. Link takes a closer look, surprised to find the plant here, and goes quiet as he inspects the leaves. Link asks if he can take a closer look, and the farmer is happy to oblige. He activates his appraisal magic over the basket, his eyes sharpening as the magical feedback begins to flow. Link points out two specific stems in the basket and drops a truth bomb. Eating them would be fatal. The farmers are completely shocked when he reveals they are actually poisonous hemlock that looks identical to the real thing. Link drops a reality check, explaining that wild watercress definitely needs to hit the heat before it is safe to eat. The farmer is shook, realizing she has been eating it raw this whole time. He breaks down the facts, pointing out that wild water from reservoirs is not the same as the purified stuff used for commercial crops. Even if it looks clean, eating it raw is a major risk. Seeing the farmer look a bit down, Link gives her a reassuring smile. He promises that a little heat treatment is all it takes to make the harvest perfectly fine. The whole crew gets hyped and starts listing off their cooking plans. They are ready to stir fry, boil and steam their way through the entire basket. To keep everyone safe, Link makes it a rule that he has to appraise every wild plant before they pick it. Picking watercress officially becomes their little routine whenever he visits the farm. Ashura watches the white glow of his magic, still processing the fact that she actually lives in a world with supernatural powers. Even though it is real, she knows that most regular people never get the chance to use it. In the land of Earthchris, magic users are picked out for special training at national institutions. They grow up to be professional mages, working in whatever field fits their specific magical vibes best. The world runs on the 4 great magic elements, and mages spend years of training to master fire, water, wind, or earth. Most pros use their abilities to fuel essential industries like farming, forging, and irrigation. While most folks are stuck with just one element, the rare few born with 2 or more can unlock specialized powers. These elite mages can actually develop high-tier abilities like healing and appraisal. It turns out her own household is stacked with talent, with Rose, Rhoden, and Link all being academy trained. Her family is basically a magic powerhouse that is usually only found once per territory. Living with 3 magical geniuses is a serious flex, but now she is wondering where she fits into the equation. She looks at her tiny hands, hoping there is some untapped power waiting to wake up. Digging into her birth family would probably clear things up since she is secretly from a ducal bloodline. For now, she is keeping that info locked down to avoid making things complicated for her mother. Most kids have to wait until they are 7 for an official mana check, but she already knows something is up. Since she can see magical light that stays invisible to everyone else, she is likely packed with potential. Our girl is done sitting on the sidelines, clenching her fists. She decides that if magic is real, she's going to be the one using it. Selt decides it is time to head back to the carriage. Since the path is bumpy, he picks her up to make the trip easier. She uses the walk to strike up a conversation. Curiosity leads her to ask if he actually learned magic back in school. He admits he is not the type to go around blasting fire or water. This shows her that magic is way more diverse than just flashy attacks. Looking at her, he lets her in on a secret about his unique perception ability. A quick comparison makes her wonder if it is like Link's appraisal power. He explains that while Link appraises objects, his power works on people to catch them in a lie. This revelation is a total game changer for her. Having 2 elements makes Selt a certified powerhouse in her eyes. Using this skill at a mansion in the past kept his old master safe from harm. Selt leans in with a gentle smile, asking our tiny MC to keep a secret. He admits Lord Din strictly told him not to spill the beans to her family members yet. Since she was not technically on the no-tell list, he decides to let her in on the loop. Ashera gives him the ultimate wink and a secret gesture, sealing the deal with a promise to keep quiet. They both agree to keep the info between them, making it their own private pact. A quick confirmation, and they are back on the same page. She realizes that if she tries to pull a fast one, his lie detector eyes would catch her immediately. He reassures her that he only uses his deep perception on people with bad vibes. The power is apparently a total battery drain, so he only breaks it out for special occasions. She just nods along as they keep walking down the path. They finally make it back to the fields, and the entire crew is hyped to see her. The farmers are practically throwing a parade, waving and thanking her for the snacks. She waves back with pure toddler energy, telling them to take good care of the crops. The team sends them off with nothing but good vibes and cheers as they head out. Selt opens up about his past, mentioning how a noble kicked him out after his old master passed away. He admits that working for the trading company feels right, finally finding a place that is actually peaceful. Ashura is ready to throw hands for him, thinking those bad nobles deserve a major beatdown. Selt just smiles, adding that he plans to repay them 1,000-fold someday, which totally catches our girl off guard. Uncle Rhoden comes running back, apologizing for the wait. He scoops up our tiny MC, and it is finally time to wrap things up and head home. Selt drops one last secret, explaining his lie detector eyes only work on people with weaker magic than his own. Since his power just bounces right off her, he realizes our little lady is on a whole different level. Back at the Rusk workshop near the park, Rhoden and our tiny MC hear a bizarre buzzing sound coming from a wooden box. They both look up in total confusion as a loud shout echoes from the back door. Deke comes sprinting out of the storage room, clutching a wooden crate. He yells at Ashura to stay back, warning her that a swarm of bees has completely taken over. Our girl just tilts her head, wondering what all the buzz is about. Outside by the storage shed, a swarm of bees is swirling around a lone wooden box. Deke explains he was just trying to grab some drying nets when the insects suddenly crashed the party. He managed to pull one box from the storage but spotted another one just sitting there in the open. One of the workshop ladies watches from the window as the swarm grows even more intense. Everyone is scratching their heads, wondering why these bees decided to make a workshop their new headquarters. She guesses the bees might have actually built a nest inside that specific box. The news sends a wave of shock through the kitchen staff. One worker points out that bees usually prefer tree branches over random boxes. They suddenly remember that Saki's father Harold used to collect beehives and wonder if he can help clear them out. Workshop lady admits her dad is too old for this kind of work, so she's not calling him in. Deke drops off the single box he managed to grab while our girl wonders what is inside. She is still hesitating because this specific bee situation is probably way too much for a retired expert to handle. As they explain how the wooden frames are used for drying out the rusks, a light bulb finally flickers on for our MC. The staff figures the box has been sitting out there on a stump for about a month. It was just a bunch of rejected frames with splinters that everyone completely forgot about. The math starts adding up as she connects the dots between the nearby park and the blooming acacia trees. This is not just a pest problem. It means they are sitting on a jackpot of fresh acacia honey. Uncle Rhoden is totally lost as his niece starts losing it over the potential harvest. He tries to keep her grounded, thinking she just wants a sugar rush and does not realize how dangerous the bees actually are. Everyone else jumps in to warn her about the price of luxury, reminding her that honey is expensive for a reason. Real harvesting usually ends with a lot of painful stings. Rhoden suggests just burning the whole bee box down with magic to keep everyone safe. But Ashera is not having it. "No, honey," she yells, refusing to let the sweet stuff go to waste, while the workshop staff looks on in shock. Suddenly, disaster strikes in the kitchen as the rusks turn to charcoal and thick black smoke fills the room. The staff start screaming for everyone to evacuate before they get choked out by the fumes. While everyone else is busy coughing, Ashera has a massive brain realization. She points at the billowing smoke and demands Rhoden use his wind magic to blow it right toward the bee box. Rhoden does not quite get the vision, but he trusts his niece and unleashes a powerful blast of wind magic to guide the soot. The swirling wind funnels the smoke into a thick cloud, guiding it perfectly into the beehive, while the workers watch the spectacle in awe. With the workshop finally clear of smoke, the relieved staff showers Rhoden with praise for his brilliant and quick work. The buzzing finally stops as the bees are calmed by the smoke. Ashera explains that bees react to the fumes just like humans and animals do, making it the perfect time to grab the goods. The crew finally realizes the smoky chaos was actually a genius master plan. Our MC points the way, while the staff geeks out over the paralyzed bees being totally harmless. Ashera gives the order to open the lid, and one brave staffer steps up to the plate. With a quick lift, the golden prize is finally in sight. The frames are crawling with bees, but since they are totally smoked out, it is open season for harvesting. Our MC shouts for them to start pulling the boards immediately. The staff works in perfect sync, shaking the drowsy bees back into the hive before swapping the frames. They slam the lid shut to keep the rest of the swarm contained. With the goods secured, the team pulls a tactical retreat and hauls the frames back to safety. They make it inside and slam the door before any of the bees can wake up. Back in the kitchen, it is nothing but high fives and celebration as they look over their loot. One staffer grabs a knife and prepares to turn those messy frames into liquid gold. The whole crew gathers around to watch the magic happen as they scrape the wax off the honeycomb. Rich, golden honey starts flowing immediately, and it looks absolutely perfect. Liquid gold flows into the jar as the staff tries to process the wild hour they just survived. They went from a smoky panic to a successful harvest in record time. It is time for the official taste test. Ashera takes a bite and looks like she just discovered a whole new world of flavor. Rhoden agrees it is delicious and is just glad they did not accidentally torch the building. The workers laugh about how Ashera's honey obsession really saved the day. Business mode is officially on. Rhoden starts giving Deke orders to grab more hive boxes and get the production line moving. While they are busy planning, one of the workshop employees steps forward with a request. She has a look on her face like this is a make or break moment. She pleads for her father to get a job, explaining that a military injury stopped him from climbing trees to harvest honey. Since this new method works on the ground, it is the perfect way for him to provide for the family again. Rhoden gives the green light, knowing a bee expert is exactly what they need. The girl is over the moon and heads off to bring her dad in right away. Harold is completely floored by the new setup, calling it a total revolution. He picks up the technique instantly, and even Ashera is impressed by how fast he is working. Taking a look inside, they find 10 frames, but only one holds the queen and the larvae. They make sure to leave a few behind so the colony stays healthy. The production is hitting a new level, jumping from 2 frames to 3 times that amount per box. Our MC is loving the variety, staring at all the different colours of honey they are getting. Harold mentions they will get different flavours like lotus and dandelion as the seasons shift. Ashera is already naming her favourites, but Link is completely stuck on the mention of rice honey. Link realises that if they pull this off, it would be the first rice honey on the entire continent. He starts calculating the massive value while admitting the concept is totally new to him. The boss asks Harold if they can scatter the hive boxes all over the rice fields. Harold is already ahead of him, agreeing that they should spread them across the whole farm. The secret is harvesting right before the rice flowers bloom to get that pure flavour. They decide to keep levelling up the hive boxes, and Harold is ready to start the upgrades immediately. Harold has been grinding. He shows off several hive designs, including a basic model and a high-tech version with a roof for better airflow. Propping the boxes up on logs is the move to keep them off the ground. The crew immediately gets to work, setting them up near the acacia blossoms. Harold starts the heavy lifting while Rhoden breaks the news that the first batch will be ready in just 10 days. Ashera is losing it because this speed is a total upgrade from her previous life. There is a bit of science to the harvest. The honey in the middle of the hive gets thicker and richer over time, while the outer parts stay light. Rhoden suggests dating the boxes to track the aging process. It is a genius move that lets them pull either light or rich honey whenever they want. Harold notes that Rhoden is exactly like the previous lord. He was the type of leader who actually listened to the common folk talk about their daily lives. Our boy admits he has massive respect for his grandfather, but his own father is the complete opposite. Harold tries to be polite about the current Viscount being a dreamer, but Rhoden knows the guy never puts in any effort. Rhoden looks down, feeling the weight of his father's failures. He apologizes for the current Viscount being such a slacker and causing everyone so much grief. Our boy is carrying the whole family name right now. Harold bows deeply, feeling relieved that Rhoden actually cares. He admits that knowing the new lord is a hard worker puts his mind at ease. This honey project is definitely going to be a local hit. Harold is officially locked in and ready to give this project everything he has got. He vows to take full responsibility to ensure the whole operation is a win. The motivation is hitting different today. The ladies and Ashera are all smiles as they officially count on Harold to lead the way. A worker rolls up with a cart and apologizes for the delay. The team is finally ready to move out. Rhoden and the crew head toward the door to start setting up the hive boxes. Ashera tries to join the party, but her uncle shuts it down immediately. It is way too dangerous for a toddler to be around a swarm of bees. Fast forward 20 days and the results are looking incredible. Harold shows off the harvest, confirming that every single hive box was a success. The table is stacked with fresh honey jars. Science mode is on as the team explains how the bees work their magic. By fanning their wings all day, they turn runny nectar into that thick, rich honey everyone loves. Timing the harvest is the secret to getting that perfect texture. Our crew checks out the difference between the 10-day and 20-day honey. Stan is definitely feeling the grind, admitting the early mornings have him completely wiped out. Stan is the same age as Rhoden, sitting at 19. He is a commoner who got a major boost when the former Viscount spotted his talent and funded a high-level education for him. The new tools are helping, but getting every drop of honey is still a massive chore. Pressing the leftovers ends up mixing in some wax residue that is hard to filter out. Stan wants to use every bit, while Ashera secretly misses having a centrifuge to handle the mess. Since that is not an option, she suggests just giving the leftovers back to the bees. The suggestion catches everyone off guard. Ashera explains that honey is bee food after all, so returning the scraps is just a wholesome way to say thank you to the hive. Rose agrees that the bees will appreciate the gesture. Rhoden is practically in tears over how sweet his niece is, while Harold is just impressed by her pure vibes. Stan is totally mortified that he forgot such a basic rule. Harold had already told him to leave a portion for the bees, and he is embarrassed that a 3-year-old had to remind him. Rhoden is basically admitting a 3-year-old has more business sense than him. Stan looks like he wants the floor to swallow him whole right now. They are already plotting how to squeeze every bit of value out of the harvest. We are talking food, medicine, and even a new skincare line. The plan is to get this beehive model and smoke tech officially registered. Everyone is on board with the new eco-friendly business strategy. Harold tries to play it humble and turn down the payment, but Rhoden insists on covering the costs. This man has clearly done enough for the family already. The mood shifts as Rhoden reveals he knows the truth about the report. He confronts Harold about the real reason his leg is injured. A look back at the border battle shows just how hard Harold went to protect the Viscount. He literally threw himself into the path of a rock slide to save his boss. Even though the Viscount is a total nightmare of a father, Rhoden and Rose feel a huge debt of gratitude. They can't believe their father kept this sacrifice a secret. Harold is caught off guard as Rhoden explains they have to keep this reward on the down low. Since the Viscount is a piece of work, an official reward would only cause problems with the family. Rhoden knows cash cannot truly repay a life-saving sacrifice, so he frames it as business compensation. It is a clever move to help Harold without tipping off the suspicious Viscount. Harold and his wife are deeply moved as they accept the offer with a bow. Rose smiles and brings up his old nickname, calling him Honey Uncle just like she did when she was little. The nickname brings back a flood of memories from when Rose was just a kid visiting the workshop. Harold pledges his full support, promising to do his very best to serve the family. They seal the deal with a firm handshake that marks the start of a new partnership. The vibes are immaculate as they officially bring Harold into the inner circle. Stan is hyped to get things moving and presents the official employment contract. He wants Harold to take charge as the new honey overseer for the entire operation. The sheer scale of the new workshop layout has Harold stunned. Stan is already planning for extraction rooms and wax processing in a facility that is bigger than 3 houses combined. The floor plan is more than just a layout. It is a full-on job center for veterans who lost work during the war. The crew is feeling the grateful vibes, even though those early boxes were a bit rough. The apprentices are finally getting the hang of it. Logistics are in full swing. They are planning to use link appraisal magic to categorize the honey jars by the dominant flower type. Stan wants to keep it simple with a basic territory name, but the group is looking for something with more punch. Our MC is locked in on the business strategy. Since this is a national first, the brand name has to be iconic enough to carry the whole industry. The brainstorming session gets cut short. Rhoden already has the perfect name locked and loaded. Talk about a sweet tribute, he names the whole brand after his little angel, making her the official face of the new honey empire. Harold is finally back in his element and already planning the perfect aesthetic for the new brand. It has been a minute since he felt this kind of pure inspiration. 1 month passes and midsummer vibes are officially in full swing. The grind pays off as Ange Angel Honey finally hits the shelves for the public. The scene opens on a quiet night as Rose watches over a sleeping Ashera. She whispers to herself, wondering if the little one has finally drifted off to dreamland. It has been a long day at the workshop for such a small child. Rose cannot help but smile at her daughter's hard work and dedication. Meeting this mysterious child felt like a miracle from the goddess herself. 3 years have already flown by since their fateful encounter changed everything. Before life with Ashera, Rose lived a very different story. At 16, she married her childhood love Arsh, but their honeymoon phase was cut tragically short. Out of nowhere, a sudden shock rocks her world. The news hits her like a ton of bricks. Rose is completely stunned to hear the devastating update. Her husband has been captured and thrown into a cell while he was away on business. The situation is even worse than she thought. Since the entire diplomatic team was snatched up, it looks like several nations are teaming up to seize control of their country. Rose gets hit with the worst news possible. The kingdom is declaring war, which basically means her husband is now on the front lines. She starts spiraling immediately. The thought of never seeing Arsh again after they spent their whole lives together is too much to handle. Her father-in-law slams his fist on the desk in frustration. He knows they have to keep the family going, even if it feels like destiny is working against them. Time for a reality check. Since there was no proof Arsh was still alive, they had to name a temporary successor right away to protect their noble standing. Enter the father-in-law's younger brother. This 31-year-old dude is the new guy in charge for now. He plays it cool to her face, promising to step down later. But behind her back, he is already spreading rumors that Arsh is dead to secure his spot. Things take a wild turn when Rose finds out she is pregnant. Her father-in-law is hyped since the baby is now the rightful heir, leaving the uncle in shock. The rules in this family are high stakes because the heir is decided by eye colour. Her husband and father-in-law had royal green eyes, but the uncle was stuck with basic brown. He spent his life throwing shade and being a relentless hater. If her baby inherited those green eyes, the uncle's claim to the throne would be over. The uncle was fuming that an unborn child was blocking his path to power. He made her life a living nightmare by sabotaging the stairs and even poisoning her food. With her husband missing and these constant threats, Rose was pushed to her limit and stayed bedridden. Her maid begged her to eat a little something, just to keep her strength up for the baby. Rose was barely hanging on, praying to the goddess for any kind of miracle. She reached out, desperately hoping her child would be protected. Her only wish was to give birth safely and keep her baby away from all this hate. She just wanted them to grow up healthy and strong. When the time finally came, Rose was ready to give everything to see her child. Even if her life should end, she just wanted to hold her baby for once. Rose was desperate to hold her baby for just one moment, but the world had other plans in a heart-shattering twist. The child was stillborn. A few months pass while she slowly recovers from the trauma. Eventually, her father-in-law sends a message through the butler, asking her to return to her family home. The butler feels the weight of the situation, but Rose knows it is time to leave. With her husband gone and no heir to hold the family together, she has no reason to stay in that house. Things get messy when her own father refuses to take her back. Her brother Rhoden isn't having it, so he starts his own trading company just to give her a place to live. Rhoden finally arrives to pick her up and apologizes for the long delay. Rose isn't upset though, she is just grateful he came through for her. It is a heavy goodbye as Rose thanks Martha for everything. She tells her faithful maid to take good care of herself as they finally part ways. Before Rose can step away, Martha stops her, unable to let her leave without hearing the truth. There is one secret about the baby she has been keeping this whole time. Hearing that her baby shared Arsh golden hair provides a small sense of closure. Rose offers a heartfelt thank you to Martha as she finally accepts the truth. That single month of happiness with her husband was all the light she needed. A few days later, they pull up to a grand villa that brings back a flood of memories. Rose whispers a final goodbye to her husband as Rhoden helps her down from the carriage. He tells her to get some rest, and she agrees that the place feels incredibly nostalgic. She gazes out at the dense forests surrounding the estate. Rhoden reminisces about how they used to spend all their time playing in these woods with Arsh. It is a bittersweet trip down memory lane as he looks back at their childhood. Those were the simplest, happiest times of their lives. Rose asks if they will reach the trading company by tomorrow. Rhoden confirms they will and suggests she turn in early since they have a morning departure. While Rhoden heads inside to handle the luggage, Rose decides to take a quick stroll before sunset. She wants to make a stop at the goddess temple while she still has the chance. The secluded temple remains a quiet sanctuary where the goddess is said to reside. Rose steps onto the stone path and notices that nothing has changed since she was last here. It is as if time stood still in this sacred place. She visits the temple of the creation goddess, a spot where only the most selfless wishes actually get granted. While offering a prayer for her husband and her lost child, an unexpected sound cuts through the air and makes her eyes fly open. The vibe shifts instantly as a baby's cry echoes through the sacred grounds. Rhoden can hardly believe what he is hearing. They rush into the woods, following the noise until they spot a basket hidden in the brush. Seeing a baby out here is surreal. The infant's desperate, heart-shaking wails make the situation feel incredibly urgent. That look in the child's eyes says it all. This baby is fighting for survival, with everything it has got. While Rhoden is still trying to process the situation, Rose instinctively pulls the little one close to comfort them. Rose pulls the baby close, overcome with relief that she can actually feed the poor thing. She is basically calling this child her own now, thanking the stars that she still has milk. Rhoden just stands there awkwardly while she takes care of business. Legends say the creation goddess handles everything by fate, making things happen exactly when they are supposed to. Rose looks at the baby and realizes this encounter might not be a coincidence at all. She is convinced this kid is a gift from above, especially since those features look way too familiar. Golden hair and green eyes are a perfect match for her husband, which is almost spooky. Rhoden checks the basket and finds some diapers, confirming that whoever left the baby at least thought ahead. Rose is already on it, though she is a bit nervous about her diaper changing skills. Babies are surprisingly heavy, and Rose realizes she is going to need some serious gains if she wants to carry her new daughter around. She is ready to put in the work to be the best mum possible. She remembers a name they picked out with her husband a long time ago. It was meant for the daughter they never got to have, but it feels right for this moment. Looking down at the little girl, Rose makes it official. "Your name is Ashera," she says, as the baby gazes up at her. Rose got real for a second, admitting she never actually knew the gender of the child she lost. Even so, she was certain it was a girl with golden hair and green eyes, just like the baby in her arms. Holding the baby close, Rose finally welcomed her into her heart. The name Ashera felt like it was always meant to belong to someone this special. Rhoden couldn't handle the cuteness and begged for a turn to hold his new niece. Rose finally let him take over as they officially started their new life together. Raising a kid was a whole new world for two nobles who could barely take care of themselves. Even with Link stepping in to help with the daily grind, it was a struggle. But watching Ashera grow up made all the stress melt away. Watching her daughter sleep, Rose felt that Ashera was actually the one who saved her when she was at rock bottom. This little girl had become her most precious treasure in the entire world. The toddler started talking in her sleep, mumbling about how much she loved her mama. A sudden wave of wholesomeness hit Rose as she felt the warmth of the deep bond they had already built. Rose whispered her love back before tucking her daughter in for the night. Wishing her sweet dreams, they both drifted off into a peaceful sleep together. She is locking in for the long haul. Rose makes a solemn promise to always be her daughter's shield, holding it down for her husband, who is still missing from the picture. 3 years have passed, and it is finally time for the big rice harvest in the middle of autumn. Rose is already a natural at this, catching compliments for her tying skills while Stan shows her how it is done. He explains the proper way to twist the stalks before hanging them up on the drying rack. Even little Ashera is out here grinding, leading the way as the whole crew starts the long process of harvesting and drying the crop. Tying the rice at the base and letting it hang out on wooden poles is the secret to getting that peak flavour. This method lets the nutrients concentrate in the grains so they taste way better. Stan admits they could just use magic, but doing it the old-fashioned way just hits different. He keeps everyone on their toes, reminding them to use nets before the local birds come for a free meal. Everyone is all smiles while they work, seeing this day as the big payoff for months of effort. It is a wholesome moment for the entire team. Rose gets a bit sentimental as she looks at the heavy, ripened grains bowing down. She gives the stalks a hug, calling this the weight of pure happiness. The memory of failed harvests still stings for everyone here. Ashera leads the way today, clutching the first successful bundle while the crew celebrates the turnaround. The farmers are already planning a legendary feast for when the work is done. Our MC is clearly down for the plan, looking like she is ready for a second helping already. They all agree to celebrate as a family once the harvest wraps up. The energy is purely wholesome as everyone looks forward to a full table. Moving ahead a few days, the royal palace is already breathing down Rhoden's neck with another summons. He is feeling the pressure, and even the little one notices the shift in the air. The squad gathers in the lounge to discuss their next move. The grandfather decided the time is right to finally set his plan in motion. Link questions if the father will interfere, but the grandfather already has a counter move ready. Rhoden just needs to stay ready for the fallout. The weight of the moment hits as they realize there is no turning back now. Everyone is locked in for the big change ahead. Rhoden reveals that he did not just visit the Viscount for a business deal. A royal summons arrived for both him and Link, making this a high-stakes situation. Link takes the news in, but immediately voices his concerns. He hates the idea of leaving Rose and little Ashera behind while they travel to the capital. The atmosphere in the room gets heavy as the reality of the situation sinks in. They usually keep someone back to guard the home, but things are different this time. Rhoden is not about to leave his sister and niece vulnerable. He firmly states they will all be traveling together because family comes first. The grandfather already has everything handled. He secured a secondary estate in the capital for them to stay at, ensuring the group stays under his protection. Link explains the big plan to a curious Ashera. He lets her know it is her first time seeing the royal capital and promises a trip to his own territory in the future. The news of the trip has our little MC hyped for the ocean. She has only seen the sea in picture books before, so the plan to visit the coast is a huge win. Link breaks down the geography, explaining that the Dane territory is a massive trade hub for the region, since they have rare items that don't exist anywhere else. The squad is heading to their capital branch first. It is all about the seafood in that area, with shrimp and shellfish being their main specialty. There is a branch right along the canal market, but little Ashera is mostly just focused on the fish. Rose is clearly not a fan of the prep work though, which is why they usually stick to shrimp. Rhoden starts cooking up a business strategy to bring some premium Dine honey along for the ride. He is confident they can flip it for a high price once they reach the trading company. The group decides to surprise the rest of the family with some home-cooked rice. They even want to bring the grandfather along to make it a full family affair. Rose is already scouting for kitchen space, even if she is a bit nervous about her cooking skills. The energy in the room shifts as the trip finally starts to feel real. The vibe is perfect for their very first family trip. Everything is set for the adventure to finally begin. Link's older brother burst onto the scene with zero chill, lunging straight for little Ashera. The sudden move has the kid frozen in shock, while Link tries to reel his brother back in. Once things calm down, Rose explains that this energetic guy is actually Link's older brother. Ashera is mostly just processing the fact that there are now two very similar-looking dudes in front of her. Our girl pulls out her best formal greeting, though her tongue trips over the words. She manages a perfect curtsy that has everyone in the room melting. Hawk is completely won over by the cute display and officially introduces himself. Ashera is still internally cringing over biting her tongue during the big moment. The squad settles into the Marquis's secondary estate in the capital to talk business. Link lays out a few samples of their premium honey to get the ball rolling. Link lists off the specific honey counts, but Hawk thinks they need a much bigger flex. Looking at them side by side, Ashera realizes they really do look like identical twins. The plan is to present the honey as a gift to the king to finally lift the distribution ban. Link drops the news that the Queen herself actually requested a meeting with Rose. It turns out Viscount Partia was the one who suggested gifting the honey to the king. The Queen is actually an old-school friend of Rose from their days at the Magic Academy. Hawk is totally sold on the quality after seeing how clear and pure it looks. He promises to talk it over with his father and get the ball rolling. Apparently, the Dine family men all come with built-in appraisal skills. Hawk has been putting his to work to scout for new business, but it is proving to be a challenge. While some areas are struggling with unemployment for veterans and single moms, the Dane lands are thriving thanks to fishing and farming. Most people there have plenty of work to do. Refugees from neighbouring nations are flooding in on fishing boats to escape food shortages. Hawk sees the struggle of the families arriving and wants to find a way to help them support themselves. He describes seeing children just like little Ashera who did not make it due to malnutrition. It is a heavy reality that is clearly weighing on everyone in the room. The plan is to take in as many refugees as possible and get them back on their feet. Since handouts are not a long-term fix, they are focused on creating actual jobs for everyone. Rose is genuinely touched by the news of how the workshops are supporting the community. Ashera joins in on the praise, her little face lighting up with excitement. Hawk is completely obsessed with the revolutionary rusk production and wants all the details. Link and Rhoden look like they are about to crack under the pressure of the questioning. Rose gives a mock apology for her brother's past workaholic behaviour while they slump over in total defeat. Ashera just watches the drama unfold with a confused look. Our girl is not standing for the shade and jumps to her uncle's defence. She shuts down the foolish talk by declaring exactly how much she loves them. The declaration of love is a critical hit, and the uncles immediately launch into a group hug. Even Hawk gets a special shout-out that leaves him completely stunned. Hawk tries to steal the MC for himself by suggesting he adopt her on the spot. The rest of the family hits him with a simultaneous and very loud no way. The sound of laughter fills the estate as the joke lands. Turns out, Hawk just loves pushing everyone's buttons for the fun of it. Waking up in a strange place used to be a constant nightmare for her after the baby kidnapping trauma, but things hit different here. Rose is already on standby with that top-tier motherly energy to make sure everything is good. It seems the little one finally found a spot where she can actually catch some Z's without the stress. Finding a place that feels like a true safe haven is a rare win when life has been this chaotic. The quiet moment doesn't last though, because the rest of the squad is already hype to get the day started. Time to shake off the grogginess and see what the plan is. Cutting over to the Dine family kitchen where the real magic happens. Meet Clan, the head chef who is basically the king of this domain and ready to show them the ropes. He is already pointing out the pantry that is fully stocked for whatever they need. Clan is ready for orders, while Link finally gets a tour of the kitchen in his own house. It is a rare sight since most nobles treat the kitchen like it is out of bounds. Rose stays humble about her cooking skills, but is definitely ready to put that rice to work. No need to mess with the head chef's flow. So Rose just asks for a small corner to handle one extra dish. Clan isn't just stepping aside though. He is actually asking for a front row seat to see her rice technique. Professional respect for the guest chef. The walk-in fridge is basically a treasure chest filled with seafood and fresh harvest veggies. Our MC is locked in on the autumn spread, spotting every mushroom and chestnut in sight. Everything looks fresh and ready for the pot. Turns out the pantry is hiding some secret loot from the eastern continent that Rose's mum brought back years ago. They have been gathering dust because the staff had zero clue how to handle them. Hearing that their mother was a low-key seasoning collector is a major plot twist for the whole family. Link connects the dots and wonders if these items came from the same place as the rice seeds. Ashira is caught off guard by the revelation. The realization hits her that these are from a rice culture. She is certain that a specific seasoning has to be hidden in the stash. Clan opens a magically sealed crate that kept the contents perfectly fresh. The dark and mysterious bottles inside look a bit sketchy for something edible. Link checks out the dark liquid, noting how different it is from their local ingredients. It is definitely not something you would find in a standard noble kitchen. The squad is locked in on the strange bottles, trying to figure out the vibe. Rose decides a taste test is the only way to solve the mystery, and Ashira is all for it. The dark liquid hits the plate, and Ashira goes in for the high-stakes sample. One taste is all she needs to confirm her suspicions. It is a total jackpot because she just identified soy sauce and miso. The flavor explosion is top tier, and she is absolutely loving every bit of it. Rose takes a small taste herself and definitely feels the salt. She looks over at Ashira, wondering if the seasoning is a bit too intense for a toddler. One taste is all it takes for Ashira's eyes to literally turn into stars. She is already asking Clan if she can borrow some for her own cooking, and he is more than happy to help her out. Clan is so impressed by her passion that he hands over an entire box of the seasoning for her to keep. Our MC is over the moon, dropping a pun to show her gratitude for the chef's generosity. The shock hasn't worn off for Rhoden, who can't believe a toddler has such intense taste buds. Rose just laughs it off, knowing that after the shrimp shell incident, her daughter is built for the boldest flavors. Hearing about seafood sparks a lively discussion among the kitchen crew. Clan is all for it, confirming that shrimp is a major staple and a fan favorite in their region. Rose describes her technique of grilling shrimp with the shells on, though she was caught off guard when her daughter tried to crunch down on the hard parts. Instead of giving up, the kid took those leftovers and ground them into a gourmet powder. Flashback to the time Clan tried to toss the waste and Ashira had a total meltdown about spirits. The whole squad is losing it now, realizing just how deep her food obsession goes. Rose felt bad about the whole shrimp shell incident and turned the remains into a fine powder, which Ashira immediately treated like a secret treasure. That evening, a simple sprinkle of that seasoning on some grilled pumpkin completely changed the game. One bite is all it takes to leave the guys speechless. Even for noble palates, this shrimp powder seasoning is a straight-up masterpiece. Ever since Ashira started warning them about waste spirits, the family has been hoarding every food scrap to use as gourmet seasonings. Link can hardly believe a toddler is the one calling the shots in the kitchen. The table erupts in laughter when our MC starts preaching about the sanctity of every life. She is dead serious, dropping deep wisdom, while everyone else just tries to keep a straight face. With a mountain of fresh seafood and the secret stash of miso and soy sauce, the potential for new dishes is endless. It is finally time to see what these legendary ingredients can really do. Ashira is ready to get cooking. She plans to tap into those nostalgic flavors from her past and show her mom how a pro handles the kitchen. Ashira reflects on her long-standing dream of sharing authentic Japanese cuisine with her new family. The moment has finally arrived, and Chef Clan steps back to let our MC run the show. Clan stays busy removing bitterness from the burdock root while asking about the soaking seaweed. Hawk gets to work on the carrots, perfectly happy to let the kids take the lead for once. Link starts mincing garlic with total confidence, knowing that any meal Ashira plans is bound to be a hit. It is a full house in the kitchen, as the crew explains how they learn to manage their own simple meals. Rose focuses on the mushrooms and admits she still has a long way to go before she can handle prepping fish. Chef Clan hears the news that little Ashira is actually the best cook in the house. Link is definitely surprised since she is still just a toddler. Her family explains that she has a gifted palate and can nail the best flavor combos in one bite. She even handled all the secret seasonings for their rusk shop. Clan asks the little boss what they should do with the burdock root and carrots. She gets super hyped and tells him to start cooking immediately. He starts by stir-frying the veggies and mushrooms just like she says. Next, she tells him to toss in some sugar and soy sauce to build those deep flavors. The savory smell of the soy sauce fills the kitchen and everyone is loving the vibe. Ashera reminds him to add the sake that was hidden in her mother's secret collection. She brings out some dashi made from seaweed and dried fish to add another layer of flavor. This toddler really knows her traditional Japanese kitchen secrets. Once all the moisture evaporates, the Kinpira Gobo is officially finished. The dish looks perfectly done. A nostalgic flavor spreads throughout my mouth. It is the umami that is only possible because of soy sauce. Our tiny protagonist is in absolute heaven right now. Rose is totally floored by her first taste of the sauce. It is sweet and salty, pairing perfectly with the rice and veggies. Even the carrots and burdock root are hitting different with that extra kick. The boys are doing their best to figure out the secret recipe. They realize the deep flavor comes from the dried fish, mushrooms, and kelp water they prepared earlier. Ashera confirms their guesses with a huge smile. The kelp, dried mushrooms, and fish are the real MVPs here. The duo is finally in perfect sync. Chef Clan is officially a believer since Ashera never misses with her flavor combos. Everyone in the kitchen is finally seeing how to master this legendary soy sauce. The chef checks the manual but finds it pretty lacking. It says the sauce makes everything delicious, but it does not actually give any recipes. It turns out the sauce is just too versatile to list every single use. Since there is no foreign market for it yet, they probably just kept the packaging simple. Our MC is hyped that they finally get the soy sauce meta. Now she is ready to drop a miso masterclass on them to really blow their minds. Chef gets right to work adding the miso to a fresh pot of clam soup. The gourmet feast is officially ready for the table. Evening falls as the day starts to wind down. A massive group of nobles just touched down at the estate. The market and marchioness are back along with several other VIP guests. It is time to go say hello to the new arrivals. Ash managed a shaky response as the nerves started to kick in. The family tree is getting serious as she stands before the massive doors. This is her first time meeting the heavy hitters of the Din family. Link's mum Maria immediately loses it over how cute Ash is. She insists on being called auntie and skips all the formal noble talk. Roland officially stakes his claim as the grandfather, while Rosario settles for the cool uncle title. Not wanting to be outdone, Deke introduces himself as her new great-grandfather. Ashera is all for it, happily welcoming her new great-grandfather with a huge smile. She looks around and notices the whole Din family is sporting the same silver hair and blue eyes. Even the Barta side stays consistent with their own silver hair and purple eye combo. Our girl finally realizes she is the odd one out with her blonde hair and green eyes. But it makes sense since Rose found her as a tiny baby in the woods. Rhoden leans in when he sees her freeze up. She stays stuck in her own thoughts. She starts fidgeting with her hair while everyone watches. The pressure is on to find a good excuse. She finally admits the problem. It is hard to ignore being the only one without silver hair. Everything goes quiet. She grips her dress, wishing she could take back the awkward moment. Roland drops down to her level to clear the air. He explains that noble children usually inherit their father's look. He walks her through why the rest of the family matches up. It is a major revelation for her. The confirmation is final. Her blonde hair and green eyes came straight from her father. Ashera asks about her father and Deke confirms she has one. He explains that while they cannot meet right now, her father has the exact same hair and eye colours as her. She wonders why meeting him is impossible. It hits her that this old man might actually know the truth about the family she was born into. Rose jumps in with a huge smile to back up the story. She tells the little one that her father is just in a very faraway place while the guys awkwardly play along. The realization hits our girl hard. She sees that everyone is just trying to hide the fact that she was a foundling and is not actually related to them by blood. She recognizes this is a kind lie meant for her own sake. Since they are trying so hard, she decides she will go along with it too. She asks if she will really get to meet her father one day. Deke promises it will happen and tells her never to forget something important. He reminds her that Rose, Rhoden, and Link are always going to be by her side. They all care for her deeply, and he does too. Deke drops down to eye level and promises she is cherished no matter what. Her hair color doesn't change their bond. A gentle head pat makes the message clear. Being family has nothing to do with eye or hair color. Ashera realizes that his hug feels exactly like the one she gets from her favorite uncles. That warmth proves that blood isn't the only thing that makes a family. The rest of the group watches from the side, clearly moved by the sweet moment. Switching gears, Deke announces he is ready to finally eat. The whole house has been waiting to taste her cooking. Over in the dining hall, Rhoden takes the floor. He officially introduces the very first rice harvest from the Barta territory. The table is packed with a spread of everything from simple white rice and Kinpira Gobo to garlic butter rice and clam miso soup. It is a full-on feast to celebrate their hard work. Next up is the mixed rice cooked with Kinpira, and our MC tells everyone to dig in. The crew is loving the sweet umami flavor of the white rice. One of them mentions how the Kinpira is the perfect pairing, while the garlic butter rice is on another level. Deke tries the miso soup and realizes the stuff his son brought home before was trash compared to this. Rhoden admits he just learned today that the secret ingredient is the dashi. Someone points out the black strips in the pickles and asks what they are. Slicing up some kombu and pickling it together lets all that savory flavor soak right into the dish. The whole table is stunned to hear they are actually eating kombu. They always thought it was just annoying seaweed that ruined fishing nets, so they usually just threw it away. Rhoden explains that the seaweed was part of the stash Rose brought back from her travels. It is actually a staple food in other parts of the world. It turns out kombu is the real MVP since it is used for dashi in almost every dish. This serving was simmered in soy sauce and sake to make it tender, and everyone is vibing with the texture. One of the noblewomen is absolutely vibing with the mixed rice. She notices the gentle touch of soy sauce and cannot get enough of the flavor. The older guys find the concept of cooking veggies directly in the rice quite interesting. One mentions it is great for the elderly, which immediately gets a salty reaction from his companion. Thinking long-term, the former Viscount suggests importing these seasonings once the war settles down. Ashera watches on, thrilled that her culinary choices are becoming a household hit. As the main course wraps up, it is time for the final act. A plate of dark, shredded strips is set on the table, leaving the guests wondering what kind of dessert this could possibly be. The table is skeptical about seaweed being served as a sweet treat. Rhoden clarifies that it is salt kombu, specially prepared with vinegar and salt to create a unique pairing. The real star of the show finally makes its appearance as bowls of ice cream are handed out. Ashera and the chef wait with bated breath, hoping their last surprise of the night is a winner. The head chef gives out specific instructions for the tasting. He wants everyone to try the ice cream alone first, then combine it with the salty kombu for a complete flavor shift. Maria takes a bite of the plain ice cream, and her face lights up. Rhoden watches with a smug grin, telling her she will be surprised by the shift in flavor. She loves how the rich milk and cream taste on their own. Now comes the moment of truth as she adds the salty seaweed to her spoon. She takes a bite and is immediately hit by a lightning bolt of pure flavor. Maria is absolutely losing her mind over the taste. She covers her mouth in shock, shouting about how delicious this combination turned out to be. Even the great-grandfather, who has been eating in total silence, finally speaks up. Our MC and Rhoden watch with pride as the old man joins the hype train. The former Viscount admits that the sweet and salty mix is a total game changer. He loves how the savory umami makes the ice cream taste even better. The other nobles are just as hooked, claiming the dish has transformed into something completely new. They are caught in a loop and cannot stop eating. Ashera happily goes back for seconds. She remembers being obsessed with this flavor combo in her previous life and loves that everyone else is finally seeing the vision. The potential of this seaweed is finally clicking for everyone. They are already planning out harvesting and processing facilities to turn it into a real business. Next up is the kombu salt, a simple mix of dried powder and salt that levels up any rice ball, paired with the shrimp salt. It is a gourmet game changer. Expansion plans do not stop there, as they look to build a dedicated shrimp facility and hire a squad of workers to keep up with the demand. Everyone is on board with the no-waste policy. Rose jokes that if they keep throwing things away, the waste monster is going to come for them. Looking ahead to next year, they are ready to dive headfirst into rice farming and beekeeping to keep the ingredients flowing. Rose pulls our MC aside to give her some well-deserved praise. She is beyond proud of how much everyone enjoyed the meal. Ashera takes a quiet moment to reflect on the flavors. This mixed rice is a special tribute to the taste of her mother from her previous life. A sudden illness took her hard-working mother in her past life. She regrets not learning more recipes, but dwelling on the past will not change a thing. She made sure to master this mixed rice recipe while she still had the chance. Seeing everyone love it today feels like they are giving a standing ovation to her late mother. Rose calls out to her little one while she is lost in the flavor. It turns out the Viscount might actually have a secret stash of soy sauce and miso waiting for them. Apparently the parents brought some back from an old trip. The mention of more seasonings has everyone's attention. They are already planning the next feast at the Viscount house. More soy sauce and miso are officially on the menu for their return trip. This dish is more than just food. It is a piece of her past life she gets to keep. The taste of her mother cooking lives on through her. From here on out, she will keep cooking for her new family. This recipe will become a permanent part of their shared memories. The story heads to the outskirts of the royal capital, right by a massive market at the river docks. It turns out the Din Trading Company has a branch set up right in the middle of all this action. Today, the goal is visiting that very company branch. Before they hop out of the carriage, Link gives little Ash a serious safety briefing, making her promise not to leave his side for even a moment. Ash is all smiles as she tightly grips his hand. She is hyped for the adventure and promises to be on her best behavior. Rhoden mentions it is a bummer. Rose could not join the squad for this trip. She is currently stuck doing preparations for their big visit to the royal palace tomorrow. While they are out, Rose is probably being treated like a dress-up doll by Aunt Maria back at the house. Since she is busy, Link is stepping up as the main chaperone for the day. The group finally arrives at the Din Trading Company storefront. The staff is happy to see them and gives Lord Link a warm welcome since it has been a long time since his last visit. They eventually settle into the dining area for a quick break and some tea. It is a peaceful scene until someone approaches the table to address the young lords. Kane approaches the table with a serious topic to discuss. They have been donating unsold fish to a nearby church, but the number of people seeking shelter is growing too fast. Refugees are gathering at churches all over the place. Link admits that having enough fish is not the problem since their territory is loaded with a massive catch. The real trouble is coming from the local residents. They are harassing the company and accusing them of just being popularity seekers while others suffer. Everyone is struggling because of the war and the lack of work. The locals are lashing out at the refugees because they think it is shameless to receive free food every time. It is a heartbreaking scene with both sides wearing tattered clothes and just trying to survive. Even the officials sent to mediate are completely stuck in the middle. Link points out that providing aid is a delicate political balance. Since giving alms is usually a royal duty, overstepping could be seen as an act of defiance against the crown. Kane does not want to stop the donations despite the risks and warnings. He knows those people have suffered through absolute hell just to reach the safety of the church. Link is stressing over the slow progress of the new factory. He knows the people need jobs immediately, but finding a source of temporary income is easier said than done. Decision made. Link stands up and declares it is time to check out the church personally. Kane is on it, running off to arrange a carriage while the rest of the squad gets ready to move. Kane starts second-guessing the plan. He is worried about the angry residents and thinks bringing a kid into a potential riot is a bad move. Link shuts that down immediately. He is convinced that Ashera is way safer right next to him than left behind where he can't keep an eye on her. Our MC is totally offended by the suggestion she is a trouble magnet. The boys just laugh, reminding her of the time she tried to 1v1 a literal swarm of bees. No time for debate. The squad is already loading up the carriage while Ashera watches in awe at how fast these guys move when they have a plan. The carriage kicks up dust as they head for the hills. With 20 refugees already at the church, they need a sit-down with the head priest to figure out the next move. The crew steps into the church and catches the eye of the head priest. He is shocked to see Kane and asks who exactly these newcomers are. Our boy Link and Rhoden drop their names like it is nothing. The priest is stunned to see such high-ranking nobles standing right in his lobby. The old man clarifies that he is not actually the boss anymore. He served as the head priest for 20 years but has finally stepped down to a regular position. Link proudly presents the MC as his precious princess. She keeps it professional with a tiny introduction that has the priest calling her absolutely adorable. They start talking shop about magical aptitude. While most kids get appraised by age 7, our 3-year-old MC is still a total mystery. The priest thinks she has a noble aura and offers to run the appraisal right now. Link is hyped for a second and tries to sign her up immediately. Actually, Link realizes he cannot do this without her mum. He decides to wait a few days so Rose can see the results for herself. Link gets straight to business after the priest asks what brought them by. They explain they are here to help handle the refugee crisis. The priest is touched and thinks the goddess is finally answering his prayers. The priest gives them the numbers on the widows and children currently staying there. Link realizes finding work for everyone won't be easy. Locals have been bitter about the refugees getting handouts without working. It is a rough situation since many of them literally cannot find work. Rhoden notes that the town must be struggling if they are jealous of church charity. Link asks for a quick tour of the grounds. The group follows the priest outside to check out the living quarters. They head toward a small forest at the back of the garden. The priest mentions the plants grow thick and tall in this area. The priest warns the group that these plants are extremely tenacious. He explains that the growth is so thick a small child could vanish from sight if they wander in. According to the priest, these flowers bloom year-round with incredibly vigorous growth. Ashera thinks a plant that never stops blooming is pretty strange. They step into the field and find themselves surrounded by bright yellow blossoms. Ashera is mesmerized, noting it looks exactly like a field of rapeweed. Link is blown away by the spectacular view. Rhoden wonders if the field continues all the way into the depths of the forest. Link notes that beekeeping is out of the question. Since these are double-petaled flowers, they do not produce much nectar, which is a major blow to his business plans. Ashera takes a flower for herself and notices the distinct tubular petals. She starts to piece together that this is actually a chrysanthemum. The pieces finally fall into place. She realizes this is actually an edible chrysanthemum. She shoves the flower right in his face, asking if it's poisonous. Uncle Link nearly jumps out of his skin. She's about to take a bite to prove her point, but he panics and stops her. Time for some appraisal magic to double check. The magic confirms it's completely safe. Not only is it edible, but there's zero poison in sight. He's blown away by the appraisal results showing its medicinal value. The rest of the crew can't believe a common weed is actually this useful. Our MC suggests selling them for some quick cash, but the local staff is skeptical. Nobody in this world has even thought of eating these flowers before. The best way to prove they're good is to make lunch. Her uncles are immediately on board. The staff member's brain is short-circuiting at the thought of high-ranking nobles cooking. They don't care and start recruiting everyone for flower picking duty. Ashera is impressed by the huge chrysanthemums that are nearly 20 centimeters wide. She tells the group she will use the vinegar they have from yesterday. Link mentions they have vinegar at the trading company. One of the staff members volunteers to go get it right away. Link gets a serious look on his face as he looks at the flowers. He calls Rhoden and Priest Lento over to talk before they start the cooking process. They move the conversation inside the chapel. Link tells them he did a more thorough appraisal on the plants. Link explains the chrysanthemums are edible and have powerful medicinal properties. They can handle things like detoxification, fever reduction, and anti-inflammatory effects. Rhoden is confused and asks what the problem is, since this sounds like good news. Link reveals the appraisal shows these flowers only grow in places with divine energy. Rhoden is completely blindsided by the news. He turns to Priest Lento to see if this is actually true. The priest admits the flowers were blooming here before the church was even built. He points out that the land used to belong to the royal family. This means the king might already know about the divine energy in this area. The realization hits hard. If these flowers grow on royal land, the king might be hiding them for a reason. The whole discovery just got a lot more complicated. Rhoden starts worrying about the legal trouble of distributing a royal plant. The priest stays quiet while our girl's head starts spinning. It seems like their plans are hitting a major wall. It just doesn't seem fair. This plant could save people from starving and act as medicine, yet it might be off limits because of some old rules. A flower blooming with divine energy is basically a sign. Rhoden calls out to her as she realizes there is only one way out. Ashera decides to take matters to a higher power. Our little MC starts her plea for help. She begs the goddess to let them use the chrysanthemum flowers for everyone's sake. This is a desperate moment for the whole group. The prayer continues as she asks for a way to help people feel better. The guys just watch as she puts all her hope into this one moment. She is begging for a miracle to happen. Something incredible happens. A bright magic circle erupts right out of the priest's chest. The whole group is stunned as the room fills with a mysterious light. A glowing orb shoots out from the magic circle on the priest's chest and heads straight for the kid. The light drifts her way as if it has a mind of its own. Catching the sphere in her hands, she is mesmerized by the sheer power flowing through her. The energy feels like it is merging with her very soul. Seeing this kind of miracle in person has the group second-guessing everything they thought they knew. This kind of magic does not just happen every day. Priest Lento drops some lore, explaining that the orb is a fragment of the goddess's crystal from the Grand Temple. This thing is usually only granted to the chosen head priest. The selection process for that role is intense, involving the king's approval and the crystal's final say. If you're not the right fit, the temple's inner sanctum will repel you. Link realizes that the priest in front of them is a much bigger deal than they thought. He has heard the stories about these fragments, but seeing one live is on another level. Rhoden asks if this is different from a standard magic appraisal. The priest confirms he rarely brings it out, but this time the crystal moved entirely on its own. That radiance is a straight signal from the top. The priest breaks it down, explaining the goddess is officially signing off because the people are in desperate need of some divine guidance. It is official. The priest confirms that the goddess just gave a green light to Ashera's request. Still a bit shocked, Ashera asks for one more confirmation. Suddenly, a magical flower zips through the air and lands right in front of her. The priest just keeps smiling while Link and Rhoden watch in disbelief. Everything is officially a go, and the goddess has given her final blessing. Getting a well-deserved head pat. Our girl is absolutely beaming. She is just happy that the people at this church finally have a way to beat the hunger. But our MC is not stopping there. She realizes there are plenty of other people struggling out there and decides she wants to spread these magical flowers to every church in the land. If she can get these planted everywhere, the suffering will finally come to an end. This is the start of a food revolution. Priest Lento is frozen in shock as glowing flowers drift down from the goddess statue. He stares at the falling petals, watching a miracle unfold right in front of him. Composing himself, the priest bows and promises to take action. He plans to contact the Grand Temple in the capital to share these divine plants with every church in the land. He clarifies that while he cannot promise the flowers will take root everywhere, he will do his part. Ashera nods along, giving him her enthusiastic approval. Thinking of the future, RMC is thrilled that this plan will help save people from hunger. She beams proud of the impact her request is going to have. Standing alone in the church aisle, she looks up toward the light. She offers a sincere thank you to the goddess for listening to her prayer. The kitchen grind is finally moving. Kane rushes in with the vinegar and apologizes for the hold-up. Selt has been putting in work with the prep. Rhoden thanks them both as they pass through the hall. Rhoden sends the group ahead to the kitchen. He still has some deep lore to discuss with the priest. Time for a duty swap. Rhoden officially puts Selt in charge of watching Ashera while he deals with the heavy stuff. Priest Lento drops the humble act and gets dead serious. He tells the boys that this event is going to change everything. The glowing crystal is more than just a light show. This rare reaction only happens during moments that define the nation, like when the king first declared war. The history lesson hits hard. When the three surrounding nations teamed up to attack, the kingdom was forced into survival mode. A ceasefire was never going to last. If war was unavoidable, then victory was the only choice. The king wasn't after more land. He wanted to unite the continent and end war once and for all. Suddenly, the crystal erupted with divine light. The priest held it high, declaring it a direct sign from the heavens. This reaction was an answer to the king's heavy burden. Lento decides to report the miracle to the capital immediately. Rhoden's only worry is Ashera's fate. The priest reassures him that the crown won't do anything to cause her pain. She is officially under the protection of the goddess. Now the priest expects she will keep her freedom while staying perfectly safe. Separation is the only thing that would really hurt her. The boys are relieved that they won't have to say goodbye. Our boy lets out a heavy sigh of relief. If she can stay safe right here with them, then everything is perfect. The priest starts digging into her bloodline, noting that hair color like that practically screams high noble status. Rose's marriage situation is a disaster since her husband is missing, and his family would likely never accept a foundling. Regardless, she is never letting her little girl go. They have been playing bodyguard for years, fighting off goons sent by toxic in-laws who wanted Rose gone. It is a miracle they have managed to keep the peace this long. There is no way they are sending her into that viper's nest, especially if her biological parents come sniffing around. Rhoden is ready to throw down with anyone who tries to claim her. The family finally hits their limit and declares that she is their child. Period. They are not backing down, and they are not yielding to anyone. The priest is moved by their resolve and promises that the church will cooperate fully to keep them safe. Priest Lento drops a heavy warning about the danger lurking around little Ashera. Being the goddess's chosen means having a giant bullseye on her back, and the boys know it. Link and Rhoden promise to keep her safe. Taking the priest's words to heart, they turn to leave, ready to face whatever trouble comes their way for the sake of their girl. Staring at the divine flower, Rhoden realizes his little niece really is an angel in every sense of the word. Her very presence seems to pull miracles out of thin air. The boys start theorizing about the kind of insane power-up she just received from that blessing. They're both hyped and a little intimidated by the pure divine energy she's packing now. Heavy thoughts can wait because it's officially snack time. They make a beeline for the exit, betting that their tiny boss is already demanding her lunch with a rumbling stomach. Sure enough, Ashera's inner hunger beast is awake and making itself known. The divine blessing didn't do anything for her appetite, and she's ready for a massive meal. It's time to get the kitchen fired up and the feast started. A friendly staffer steps up to guide them, eager to show off the team responsible for keeping everyone's bellies full. Sarah and Sarasa step up for the introductions, and our girl's brain immediately hitches trying to say their names. She gives it her best shot, but her tongue just is not having it. Ashera is stunned to find out that the twins actually have twins of their own. They reveal Ran, Layla, May, and Misa, who are all only 2 years old. It is basically a full house of toddlers in here. Seeing all the tiny kids has Ashera in total cuteness overload. They basically look like a squad of quadruplets. Our girl notices everyone is in a dress and asks if they are all girls. Turns out little Ran is a boy, just rocking hand-me-down dresses because the family is struggling. The mood takes a dip as the twins explain their backstories. They lost their husbands to the war and have been fighting to survive with zero help in the capital. The situation gets darker when the mothers reveal that people come to the church every day just to yell insults at them. Ashera is not having any of it and starts a one-girl protest against the bullies. Rhoden joins the group to check on his niece, but the vibe is off. The widows think he is part of the noble crowd coming to harass them, and they are terrified. Rhoden listens to their heartbreaking story with a heavy heart. He truly feels for everything they have gone through just to make it to the capital with their children. We struggled just raising one, Rhoden admits, expressing nothing but respect for these two managing four. His sincere words hit deep, leaving the sisters moved. The wall finally breaks and the twins start sobbing as years of repressed pain come rushing out. They apologize for the sudden breakdown, but the tears just won't stop. Offering a handkerchief, Rhoden tells them it is perfectly okay to let it all out. The tension they have been holding onto for so long finally begins to melt away. Our MC watches with a relieved smile, happy to see the widows finally finding some peace. Meanwhile, the squad of toddlers looks on, sensing the shift in the air. With the air cleared, the group regains their composure and wipes away the last of the tears. It is time to get focused and get those lunch preparations moving. The team presents a basket overflowing with medicinal flowers and asks the kitchen staff to use them in the meal. The suggestion to cook with forest weeds draws immediate confusion from the staff. The kitchen staff confirms the flowers pass the vibe check and are safe to eat. The news has the ladies shook, but Ashera promises they taste just like regular veggies. Ashera takes the lead on the prep work. She tells the squad to pluck the petals but keep those bitter stems out of the mix. Standard lunch around here is just some watery, reheated potato soup. It is looking pretty thin, but the sisters mention they usually get fish and bones later in the day to beef things up. Uncle Rhoden drops off a serious care package with seasonings and fresh bread in the mix. This meal is about to get a major upgrade. Since seasonings are rare, the staff is ready to get creative with the cooking. Everyone is feeling the gratitude as they realize how much the food donations are carrying them. The prep crew finishes with 3 bowls overflowing with petals. Ashera gives the green light to dump a whole bowl straight into the potato soup. Despite the staff worrying about the portions, Ashera insists that more greens just means a better meal. She orders the rest of the petals to be tossed into the boiling water immediately. Adding a splash of vinegar makes the yellow petals look way more vibrant. Ashera explains it is the same science as using lemons in jam to keep the colours popping. The kitchen crew is impressed by the instant transformation. Sarasa gets to work on the side dish. She mixes the blanched flowers with sugar, salt, and vinegar for a quick marinade. With the feast finally ready, the whole group gathers around the long table. It is time to see if these forest weeds actually pass the taste test. Rhoden and the priest take the first bite and are immediately shook. There is zero bitterness, and the flavour is low-key amazing. The sisters can hardly believe their eyes. A basic bowl of potato soup just got a massive glow up, thanks to those colourful petals. The vinegared side dish is a certified hit. Everyone loves the refreshing flavour and that satisfying crispy texture. Watching the kids and the widows finally smile over a warm meal hits different. Ashera feels a sense of relief seeing them eat with such gusto. Good food really is the ultimate way to bring people together. After lunch, the kitchen staff asks Sarasa to keep processing those flowers, just like they did today. She is clearly not expecting the extra work. Link thinks giving out samples is the best way to get people to actually eat these things. He plans to bag the petals with vinegar samples for the trading company to test out. The sisters are still stressing because the flowers technically belong to the church. Priest Lento just smiles and reminds them that both he and the goddess gave them the pass. To sweeten the deal, they decide to buy the flowers as official food stock. The church gets cash for fish, and the sisters finally get paid for their labour. Our girl Ashura is already thinking 3 steps ahead. She knows bagging petals is just the start and wonders what else they can do with this divine harvest. She tries to explain the next big idea, but her toddler talk is making it a struggle. The staff is completely lost while she keeps babbling about something that sounds like Dwin. Luckily, her uncles speak fluent baby and translate her plan for the group. She wants to steam and dry the petals to make them even more useful. The medicinal effects are a game changer. They are already planning to dry the flowers for military rations since they stay fresh for so long. The kitchen staffer suggests the sisters lead the processing work. This turns into a real job opportunity for the whole church community. Priest Lento gives the green light. He promises to personally pick out the right crew to help the sisters get the operation moving. Knowing they can finally afford new clothes for their kids is a huge relief. The sisters are overwhelmed by the news. Our MC is just glad the plan worked out for everyone. She is happy to see the sisters finally find some peace. The staffer starts to wonder if they pushed the plan through too quickly. He checks in to make sure the priest is cool with the sudden moves. The priest is not worried at all. He is actually moved by how fast things are changing for the better. Everything started moving after just one comment from the MC. The church gets new jobs, the army gets medicine, and everyone finally has a solid plan. The priest is sold on her, calling her an angel while he watches her. Her uncle is not missing the chance to brag and claims her as his own precious angel. Hearing both of them gush over her at the same time is proving to be a lot. She looks like she is about to short-circuit from all that praise. She's glad she could help, but the angel nickname is where she draws the line. She starts flailing her arms and begs them to spare her from the embarrassment. A fresh delivery arrives at the church as the sun beats down on the path. A horse gallops into the settlement and the locals realize the supplies have finally landed. The trading company pulls up with bags of supplies, and the workers are already asking if there's more food. It seems like the constant deliveries are becoming the new normal around here. Ashura is absolutely glowing. With a full stomach and a big smile, she is finally enjoying the fruits of her labour. The new chrysanthemum business is a game changer for the community. The widows finally have their own money, and the church is starting to look like a sustainable home. Link starts crunching the numbers and realizes the math is not adding up. The church funding should have increased days ago based on their headcount, but the gold is nowhere to be found. It gets even sketchier when he hears the head priest blocked Lento from using his own funds to help. Something is definitely rotten at the top. Link narrows his eyes as the realization hits. There is some deep corruption going on within the religious hierarchy. The priest mentions that once his official report hits the capital, things are finally going to start moving for the church. As the group heads out, everyone shares a hope that things improve while noting how scared the local kids were of them. Link and Hawk suspect the children are just generally traumatized by adults, especially some local idiot who keeps bothering them. Link is just starting to think of a solution when a loud voice calls out from the trees, cutting his train of thought short. The church staff comes sprinting back to the group with news that he has officially brought a professional apothecary along. Our tiny protagonist is surprised by the sudden mention of medical help as the staff member waves the newcomer over. Doran makes his grand entrance as a big-name apothecary who runs a massive shop right in the royal capital. Lento is quick to show his gratitude for the help. Doran is basically a medicine nerd who would run anywhere for a new discovery. The mood shifts when Doran realizes he knows these guys from back in his Magic Academy days. Ashira can hardly believe her ears. Doran finally meets the star of the show. He is immediately sold on how adorable she is. This dude is already dreaming of his own family being just as cute. He is pretty much the definition of a proud future dad. The group shares some wholesome news about a new baby on the way for Teruru. Before long, the focus shifts back to the legendary dual-purpose plant they came to see. The sight of the massive flower field is a total shock. These things grow back instantly, which basically breaks the laws of herbalism. He fires up his appraisal skill to see what he is working with. The results are off the charts and prove this is some serious high-quality stuff. Doran wastes no time asking Lento to stock the magic flowers in his shop. He is already brainstorming ways to process them into tea or powder. Lento gives the green light, but tells him to keep the divine aura on the down low. Doran is all in and promises to stay quiet about the flowers' secret stats. Since his shop is a long way off, Doran plans to send a crew for the pickup. Teruru jumps in to help as they set a daily quota of 100 whole blossoms. Doran flexes his wind magic to harvest the field in seconds. The whole squad is stunned by the display of pure efficiency. Wind magic is a total game changer for chores. Doran is hyped to get back and start brewing his first batch of medicine immediately. Business is booming as Doran offers to pay for the labor and transport the first haul. He suddenly remembers a few volunteers who might be perfect for transport duty. Link and Teruru are left scratching their heads. They have no idea who he is planning to draft for the heavy lifting. Doran casually reveals a stack of bound thugs he took down solo. Total hero move. He basically did the local police a favor before even starting his day. These guys tried to jump our boy for his gear. Big mistake. Doran claims he went easy, but the bruises on their faces say otherwise. Ganging up on a lone traveler is a low-tier move. It shows how lawless this area has become. No wonder the local kids are constantly living in fear. Hiring the same guys who tried to rob you is a wild business move. Doran is either a total saint or he has a very specific plan for these 5. The battlefield needs a massive supply of high-grade medicine right now. Scaling up production is the only way to meet the insane demand. Most crimes start with an empty stomach. A legit paycheck is the fix. He just needs to put them through some brutal discipline first. Leaving valuable inventory with known thieves sounds like a warehouse robbery waiting to happen. Black market cash is a huge temptation. Doran explains that stealing military-grade medicine is a one-way ticket to game over. Signing a contract with Pledge Magic is the only way to keep the thieves in check. Military secrets require a high level of security. Anyone foolish enough to break the agreement will learn the hard way how scary this magic is. The terminology is completely over their heads. They need a full breakdown on what Pledge Magic actually does. Breaking a promise with this magic leads to instant consequences. The word retribution alone is enough to change the mood. Doran describes the lethal history of this magic with 0 chill. Modern versions are less deadly, but the physical damage is still no joke. Unauthorized use of this magic is illegal without government clearance. The weight of the situation is finally starting to sink in. Using such a rare contract allows the group to become legitimate military employees. It guarantees a steady paycheck while securing the operation. Doran explains that the contract includes a strict no-interference clause for anyone handling the flowers. Link agrees this basically turns the workers into military-protected staff. The plan is a total win for Link, since it keeps the thugs in line while protecting the church. It is the perfect 2 birds, 1 stone solution for the territory. Our boy Teruru is losing his mind over how well this worked out. He is hyped that a solution this perfect actually exists. The weight of the situation is heavy because Pledge Magic is no joke. Once that contract is signed, the consequences for breaking it last for a lifetime. A sudden realization hits Link that he arrived on a horse and might have trouble hauling prisoners. He decides to just pick up the tied-up criminals on his way out anyway. Priest Lento decides to travel along so he can report the church's situation to the royal officials. Teruru offers up his carriage to transport the goons to the capital. A quick call for help to Selt gets the wheels turning. Teruru is motivated by the priest's support and wants to get the men loaded up immediately. Teruru and the church crew head off to prepare for the upcoming trip. Our main group is left in the flower field with Doran, ready to start their business venture. Doran is completely blown away by the divine aura surrounding these plants. He holds a single bloom, realizing it is a total game changer for the medical world. The group breaks down the massive potential from edible crops to military-grade medicine and new jobs. Ashera calls it a straight-up miracle, and she is definitely not wrong. Seeing the potential of the divine plants makes Doran feel like he needs to step up. He knows he has to return the favor by making this discovery a reality. Since the military is going to need massive amounts of medicine, Doran wants to get a production line running immediately. The clock is ticking and he needs to move fast. He wants to make sure the local apothecaries can keep the operation going even after he leaves his post. Link and the crew realize things are about to get incredibly busy for everyone. Just as they are planning for the future, Doran drops the news that he has been summoned to the royal palace tomorrow. The vibe shifts instantly as the reality of the situation sinks in. Selt gets deep for a moment, promising to return in one piece just to see his child's face. Link joins in, telling Teruru that any baby looking like him is bound to be adorable. Laughter fills the air as the group jokes about the baby's looks to keep the mood from getting too heavy. They make a final promise to ensure everyone makes it back safely from this journey. Time to move out. Teruru shouts for Doran to let him know the crew is finally ready to roll. Link decides to join the escort and asks Selt to hold down the fort at the church until he makes it back. Selt gives a friendly wave as the carriage finally pulls away. Link is already planning a surprise dinner with some fresh medicinal flowers for the family. Ashera watches from the sidelines, quietly calling out to her uncle as she processes the scene. Just as Link is about to head out, a voice from behind catches him off guard. Someone wants to know exactly where he is heading. He turns back to find Ashera standing right there, and her silent stare leaves him speechless. He did not expect the little one to be watching so closely. Ashera finally connects the dots about the heavy atmosphere from before. Everything makes sense now. The guys admit they have to leave for a while. They are headed somewhere far, far away. The realization hits her like a truck. They are going to war, and our girl cannot stop the waterworks. Terrifying thoughts of injuries and sickness flood her mind. The uncles quickly swoop in to comfort her. They promise her with everything they have got that they will absolutely come back home. They insist they would never lie to her. Plus, they remind her they have got magic on their side, so they are basically invincible. They start listing off their skills like making wind walls and being master hiders. One of them points out that hiding is not exactly a magic trick though. Hawk tries to keep things light with a big smile. He tells her they are tenacious survivors and asks for her backup. The facade finally drops as Ashera lunges for a hug. She can barely get the words out through her tears, telling Uncle Link how much she loves them. They scoop her up to show her some love. They promise they love her too as they try to keep the atmosphere from getting too heavy. One last embrace before the departure. Ashera makes them promise to return, her plea echoing under a vast sky as she looks for any sign of hope. Ashera starts praying to the goddess with everything she has. She even offers up her own life just to ensure the two of them make it back safe. Ashera debuts her new frilly dress, and she is absolutely slaying the look. Rhoden is losing his mind because great-grandpa Deke beat everyone to the punch and picked the outfit himself. Rose is obsessed with the vibe and decides this cherry blossom pink is the official look for tomorrow. Ashera melts her great-grandpa's cold heart with a huge thank you, and even he can't help but give a soft grunt of approval. The mood gets heavy fast as Deke realizes the king probably already knows about Ashera's divine blessing. Rhoden is over here stressing out, hoping their trip to the royal palace tomorrow doesn't turn into a total disaster. Ashera remembers the priest saying other people have blessings too, so she doesn't get why everyone is so pressed. She watches her family with big, worried eyes, wondering why the energy in the room shifted so drastically. The mystery of the blessing of the goddess hangs over them like a dark cloud. Nobody actually knows what it entails or how it is going to change their lives. Location jump to the royal palace, where our girl is getting major main character energy from the massive reception room. The reality finally sets in that she is about to meet the queen herself. It turns out Rose and the queen were actually classmates back in the day, which explains the personal request audience. Both Rose and Ashera are visibly on edge until a knock at the door signals it is showtime. Ashera stares at the woman with big eyes, clearly doubting she is actually the queen. She tries to do the math since she heard the queen is older than her mother, but this lady looks far too young. The butler dips and the queen immediately lunges at Rose for a massive hug, completely forgetting her royal status. Ashera is just standing there with her jaw on the floor, witnessing this chaotic reunion. Fine crosses her arms and pouts because Rose is being way too formal. She wants Rose to drop the titles and just use her name, and Rose finally gives in with a soft laugh. Rose looks around the empty room as Fine explains she sent the staff away to give them some privacy. Ashera watches the two of them, picking up on the fact that they were definitely besties back in the day. Fine mentions the head lady in waiting had to step out, even though she was dying to see Rose again. Even the palace staff was hyped for this reunion, which just shows how popular our girl was. Fine suggests Rose go visit the staff later, and Rose is totally down for it. Little Ashera puts a hand to her chin, wondering what kind of secret business her mum has with the palace head. Rose leads Ashera forward for the formal introduction, but our girl immediately stumbles over her own words. She tries to say her name, but it comes out as a clumsy toddler mumble. Talk about a total fail. Ashera is absolutely mortified after stumbling over her own name, feeling like her 2-year-old speech is ruining her big moment. The cringe is real as everyone just watches the awkwardness unfold. Queen Fine isn't even bothered and tells her to relax. She is all about the good vibes and wants a better look at our girl. The Queen's youthful energy is one thing, but those amber-coloured eyes are on another level. Ashera spots something definitely not human hidden right in the centre of her gaze. It turns out they are both seeing things. Fine confirms the divine crests are visible to both of them, just like the rumours predicted. The reality of the situation is starting to weigh heavy on Rose. Fine explains that her family line has always been tuned into these mystical details. Ashera is still trying to decode the Queen's eyes while being told to take a seat. Fine drops a major lore bomb, suggesting that being bad at talking is actually a sign of massive magical potential. The explanation is a total game changer for the room. Ashera is just glad to have a legit excuse for her clumsy speech, even if it means she is secretly a mana powerhouse. The verbal confirmation hits different. Ashera realizes she is not just a toddler, she is a walking magic battery. Fine reveals that only the heavy hitters can see her hidden crest. It is a flex that puts Ashera in the elite tier. Fine admits she looks like a kid without makeup because of her mana levels. She is basically bragging about her eternal youth. Rose pokes fun at the childish behaviour, but Fine is not having it. She blames her young body for her lack of a filter. The Queen explains that all this magic is the real reason Ashera is growing so slowly. It is the trade-off for being seriously cracked. Ashera finally accepts the deal, trading a bit of growth for the chance to stay young forever. A knock at the door breaks the vibe. Palace staff arrives right on time to announce lunch is ready. The magic talk is over for now as the Queen calls for food. Chef Kuran is putting in work in the palace kitchen, using the group's ingredients to whip up lunch. Great-grandfather Deek came through with the recommendation to test rice as a military ration, and now the palace is hosting the ultimate tasting session. The spread is looking like a 5-star buffet, with everything from flavoured onigiri to medicinal chrysanthemum miso soup. One look at the menu and it is clear these are not your average battlefield rations. Queen Fine is not hiding her excitement, looking like she has been waiting for this her whole life. She is especially hyped to finally see the rumoured medicinal yellow flowers on her plate. The Queen is officially a fan, calling the rice sweet and the flowers a total surprise. Despite the staff worrying they served way too much rice for a simple tasting, Fine is having the time of her life. The tasting session is a certified win, with the mixed rice being the breakout star of the day. Ashera is ecstatic as she hears that the king is even planning to import seasonings just to keep these flavours coming. It is official. Onigiri is being drafted as the new battlefield ration because it is so easy to prepare and pack. They will have to rely on imports for now, but the plan is to get local production stable as soon as they can. The palace staff is scrambling to keep up as everyone starts shouting for second helpings. Ashera takes it all in with a smile, relieved that the Queen and her court are totally sold on the new menu. Post-lunch tea time is hitting different today. Fine is vibing with the chrysanthemum tea, shocked at how fast it is soothing the eye strain from her mountain of royal paperwork. Ashera knows the goddess flowers are the real deal, but she's more impressed by the Queen bottomless stomach. Fine is out here demanding third helpings of honey pancakes and ice cream like a true professional. Zero chill from the Crispin family. Fine is already picturing her dad and brother, shaking Rhoden down for rice and bee secrets. Time to get serious about the future. Fine plans to get the royal permission to mentor Ashera, leaving our little MC completely blindsided. Flexing the crest in her eye, Fine confirms her own divine connection. The mood shifts when she admits frequent visits might cause a palace scandal. Politics at the top are getting messy. Fine reveals the higher-ups were debating whether the temple or the palace should just keep Ashera for good. Rose is absolutely floored. Some of the senior vassals actually voted to keep Ashera from going home today. Ashera clutches her dress, terrified that they won't let her go home. Rose holds her close as the realization of the palace's power sinks in. Fine tries to keep things light, but the backstory is heavy. Priest Lento fought the decision, and right when the vassals were about to win, the goddess's crystal pulsed with pure darkness. Both crystals reacted with a void-like aura at the exact same time. Since darkness means divine denial, the entire room was silenced by the rejection. The deal is simple. Ashera gets to stay home, but she is getting a secret escort for protection. She is just relieved to have the goddess on her side. The massive weight finally drops off their shoulders. Rose has been stressed since yesterday, and Ashera just wants to stay with her family. Ashera promises to stay forever. Rose holds her close, returning the promise with a gentle hug. Rose apologizes for the scare, but explains the guards are for her safety. Now it is time for a scarier story to explain the stakes. Fine drops a heavy truth on the room. Having a divine blessing makes you a prime target for exploitation, and she almost got snatched herself back in the day. Being born into a ducal house and engaged to the king from birth made her a double prize. Some villains were after her noble bloodline, while others were just thirsty for her raw magical energy. Once news of her blessing leaked out, the danger level spiked. Power-hungry nobles saw her as a shortcut to a higher social rank if they could just force her into a marriage. She actually delayed starting at the Magic Academy because she needed time to train. She refused to step foot on campus until she had enough firepower to protect herself from the vultures. Because she was already so cracked at magic, the academy felt more like a review session than a challenge. But for her, the absolute best part of those years had nothing to do with spells. Rose can barely believe she was a master before she even enrolled. Graduation was never optional for Fine, though, as it was a strict requirement for anyone aiming to be the next queen. Forget the magic and the politics, meeting Rose was the real highlight of her life. They share a tender moment reflecting on the bond they forged during those chaotic school days. Fine drops a bomb about her school days, revealing people actually tried to harvest her hair and blood. Rose looks like she is seeing a ghost. Apparently, these creeps were obsessed with some forbidden book and making a miracle elixir. Ashura realizes the blessing is more like a curse. It finally clicks why her great-grandpa and the others have been so stressed out lately. The poor kid is spiraling, imagining dark secret societies and being kidnapped for her powers. She admits she does not even want this divine gift anymore, while Fine holds her close. Apologizing for the trauma dump, she insists there are only a few foolish villains out there. She holds the girl's hands and promises the family will do everything to keep her safe. It is not all doom and gloom since the queen already survived this and knows the drill. Ashira asks if she is really stuck with it, and Fine confirms the blessing is not something you can just return. According to Fine, the goddess does not just hand out powers for fun. Every blessing is a tool for necessity. Ashera starts to wonder if there is a real reason she was chosen for this role. While the queen's blessing was for the kingdom, Ashera's power is meant to influence everyone from a different angle. She lets out a cheerful laugh and tells the girl they just have to embrace the chaos. Fine pulls the girl in for a deep hug, promising she will never have to face her burdens alone again. Ashera is actually vibing with the sentiment. Relieved she is not the only one dealing with this divine weight. The queen drops the fact that they are the only two people in the entire kingdom with this blessing. Ashira is busy doing the math, realizing her social circle just became extremely exclusive. Fine tries to claim their holy bond makes them basically sisters, but the mum pulls the age gap card immediately. A 23-year difference is a lot, so Fine pivots and decides she wants to be the mum instead. She is really selling the idea because she thinks her own son is going to grow distant soon. Apparently, she has always wanted a little girl to dote on and spoil. The queen is basically asking for shared custody at the royal palace now. Rose just looks at her friend like she has completely lost her mind. Rose agrees to the deal since it means better protection for her daughter. Fine is over the moon about becoming a second mum, leaving Ashira totally confused by the sudden family expansion. Caught in the embrace, a sudden wave of deja vu washes over Ashira. Between the scent and the feeling of being held, she starts wondering if they have actually met in a past life, searching through hazy memories from long ago. Fine wraps up her explanation and offers to answer any questions about blessings or magic. Our girl takes a second to think if there is actually anything she needs to know. It clicks instantly. She wants to try using magic for herself. Fine agrees, noting that while training usually starts at 7, she needs it much sooner. She promises to handle finding a teacher once they figure out her aptitude. When asked what kind of magic she wants to try, the girl just shouts out ice cream. Fine can only laugh, finding the request totally on brand for her. Since they do not have a freezer at home, Link is the one who brings back treats using his freezing magic. Fine realizes that having a delicious goal will actually help her learn much faster. The game plan is set. First, she will master water magic, and then it is straight to freezing magic for all the cold snacks. The queen sits gracefully as her words hit different. Every reassuring sentence washes away the fear that was weighing our girl down just moments ago. She knows deep in her heart that she is finally safe under this protection. In the royal palace, where things are getting rowdy, Queen Fine and little Ashira notice some serious shouting matches breaking out right outside their room. It seems some troublesome guests have arrived. Fine can tell there is a heated argument going down because it sounds like they are shouting. She gives our girl a warm smile and tells her not to stress. This room is a fortress that nobody can enter without her express permission. The noise is so loud it is even reaching the lady in waiting. Fine gets curious and decides it is time to take a secret look at the mess. She taps a painting on the wall and it instantly turns into a magical display. Ashera is completely floored because she just witnessed the invention of Fantasy World TV. Fine explains that it is a one-way viewing spell. They can watch the whole scene play out without any of the people on the other side knowing. The screen reveals a maid and a flashy noblewoman having a tense standoff. Our MC realizes the maid might be the very person her mother has been trying to find. The flashy noblewoman is losing her mind over her husband's punishment. She demands to know why Richard is being targeted, but the palace maid shuts her down with some cold logic. Ashera is front row for this palace drama. She is shocked that anyone would dare to scream this loud right outside the Queen's private chambers. The maid points out that Richard's signature was all over the shady documents. The noblewoman tries to claim he was clueless, but that excuse isn't moving the needle. Playing the clueless card just makes him look incompetent. The maid pushes harder, asking exactly where all the stolen goods and fraud money ended up. Interrogated officials keep pointing at their boss as the mastermind. This is turning into a straight-up crime drama, and Ashera is watching every twist and turn. When asked to identify the boss, the noblewoman suddenly hits a wall. She starts sweating bullets while swearing she knows absolutely nothing about it. The final sentence is dropped, and it is a total wipeout. Richard is losing his job, his money, and getting a one-way ticket to military service at the border. The noblewoman is absolutely desperate, begging for a cancellation as if it's that easy. The maid isn't having it, asking what kind of power she thinks a servant actually has. She begs for a royal favour, but the maid just keeps pouring tea with a stone-cold expression. Ashera is watching this whole power struggle from the sidelines, feeling the heavy tension in the air. The Queen is radiating some serious bad vibes from the couch, making the whole room feel like a freezer. Things are getting so intense that literal ice crystals are starting to form around the water pitcher. The maid calls out the absolute audacity of trying to use the royal family for personal gain. She drops a verbal nuke that leaves the lady physically shivering from the icy pressure of her anger. She tries to play the family importance card, claiming the entire dukedom is doomed without Richard. It is a classic move, but excuses aren't going to fix a fraud case this big. Military service is mandatory for every noble, and the maid makes it clear there are zero exceptions. The lady keeps trying to move the goalposts, but even our MC can see through these weak attempts to stall. She tries to gain sympathy by bringing up her missing son, but the maid hits back with the hard facts. Richard wasn't just a bystander, he was the mastermind behind the whole scam, and the evidence is already locked in. The lady tries to use Ash and Rose's past trauma as a shield, but she is barking up the wrong tree. A cold, sharp glare shuts her down before she can even finish her desperate sentence. Hearing her mother's name has our MC completely confused about how these people are connected. Meanwhile, the palace maid is handing out a reality check, reminding the lady that she is just a replaceable candidate for the title. Claiming innocence after dragging the Christian name through the mud is a bold move that is not paying off. The lady can only stammer in shock, as she is told she is no longer worthy of bearing the family name. Disgracing the family legacy means any dreams of inheriting the dukedom are officially over. That day is never coming, and the maid makes the final verdict crystal clear. It is time to pack it up and go back to where she came from. The maid has one last parting gift of information to drop before the lady is shown the door. News drops that the jewelry shop owner has already been caught, proving the whole scam is rapidly unraveling. This revelation hits like a lightning bolt, leaving her absolutely speechless and trembling. With the Ministry of Magic digging into the case, every hidden secret is about to come to light. Realizing she is officially cooked, the lady finally makes a quick and frantic exit. The noblewoman gets one final warning as she is shown the door. The head lady in waiting makes it clear that using the Queen for leverage is a one-way ticket to disaster. This is the only grace period she is getting. One sharp gaze sends the vibe straight to absolute zero. There won't be a second chance if she tries this again. The lady can only tremble in the face of that pressure. Watching the lady faceplant while running away is a top-tier comedy moment. Even our MC is stunned by how intense the head lady can be. It is a lot for a 3-year-old to process. It turns out the maid knew they were watching the whole time. She offers a formal apology for the mess before heading back to her duties. Queen Fine is already back to her usual relaxed self, fixing a painting like nothing happened. The head lady rejoins them with a professional grace that is honestly goals. Fine just laughs it off, telling her she did a great job handling the drama. It is just another day of palace politics for these two. We finally get a name for the blonde lady, Caroline. Apparently her whole identity was built on having the right hair and eye colour to impress a branch family. Our MC is just trying to keep up with the law drop. In this world, noble traits like hair and eye colour are basically a DNA receipt for status. The head lady calls out the arrogance of thinking a few physical traits make you a worthy heir. Now our girl is curious about what the other major families look like. Ashera is caught in a serious mental loop. Frequent trips to the palace mean she might cross paths with the very people who abandoned her in the first place. She starts digging through her memories to figure out her real origins. She remembers hearing the word firstborn back in the day, but being a duke's daughter might have just been wishful thinking. Unwanted and abandoned. That is the harsh reality she is facing. If her bio family finds out she has a divine blessing, they might try to snatch her away from her real family. Just the thought of losing her new family is enough to send her into a spiral. She isn't taking any chances and stays as close to her mum as possible. The adults completely misinterpret the situation, thinking the political drama from earlier was just a bit too heavy for a kid. Even the head lady seems concerned by the sudden change in vibe. A major law bomb drops when the head lady reveals her true connection to Rose. It turns out our MC's family tree has some seriously deep roots in the legendary Christia Duchy. Everything is finally clicking into place. The missing heir and the talk of a lost child weren't just random rumors. They were pieces of her mother's tragic history. The map tells the whole story, a diplomatic disaster where ambassadors were snatched up by neighboring nations, sparking the continent-wide conflict everyone remembers. Fear starts creeping in. If the true heir ever returns, Rose might be forced back into the high society life of a ducal house. Tension hangs heavy as the fear of being separated from her mother lingers. Sensing the mood, Rose pulls the kid into a protective hug while a gentle hand reaches out to offer an apology for the scary talk. Looking up, the head lady has the softest expression. It is a crazy contrast seeing such kindness in someone who was just talking about the triggers of a brutal war. Manners first. Our MC puts on her best toddler voice to offer a polite, slightly stumbled greeting. Nice to meet you. I'm Ashera. The lady beams, clearly won over by the cuteness. She formally introduces herself as Rachel and drops the news that she is Ashera's grandmother. Shock is an understatement. The kid is left wondering how she suddenly gained a grandmother, while Rose looks like she just saw a ghost. Family is more than just blood. Rachel officially claims Ashera as her own, leaving Rose absolutely speechless. The recognition is finally real. This is a massive win for our girl. Being accepted just like her great-grandparents is a huge weight off her shoulders. This bond is officially locked in. Time to turn on the toddler charm. One shout for grandma is all it takes to turn the head lady into a total fan. She is ready to take the kid home right this second. Grandma is not playing around with safety. She is assigning an elite guard from the Christia house to watch over Ashera. Rose can barely process the massive upgrade in protection. The mood shifts as the real talk begins. There are still dangerous people out there that have not been handled yet. Until they are gone, a full reunion has to wait. Major law drop. It turns out Rose was in constant danger from a group led by Richard after Ashera disappeared. The family tried to send her somewhere safe, but the timing was a disaster. Flashback to the chaos of war. Between the intense fighting and the lack of communication, the family was forced to send her away without a proper goodbye. Rachel finally offers the apology they have both needed for years. Rose is hit with the hard truth while Rachel drops a bomb about their safety. Not even Ashera is safe since Richard's goons are still hunting them down. The kid is shook to find out she is on a hit list. Turns out secret guards were watching over them the whole time. But Link and Rhoden were so strong, the backup didn't even need to step in. Rose wants to know the details of the fraud Uncle Richard committed. Lento and the apothecary made a big move by visiting the magic ministry yesterday. They requested a high-level oath magic contract to make sure the truth finally came out. The investigation found a list of ghost workers on the public works roster. Richard was using these fake names to inflate wages and steal money. His department was a total mess of corruption. They were already looking into the corruption when it all finally unraveled. One of Richard's money handlers took an oath spell and spilled everything just to avoid being the scapegoat. The total amount stolen over the years is huge. Rachel is already looking forward to seeing Richard's face when he returns from the front lines. His estate is going to be deep in the red after all the fines and refunds. They are just waiting for the rest of the traitors to show themselves so they can arrest everyone at once. Rachel drops a bomb by saying the Christia Duchy has to take the heat for this mess. Rose is stunned and demands to know what she even means. The king already knows the duchy was actually the one trying to stop the corruption from the start. That is a huge win for their reputation. Even with the warnings, Richard just kept being a villain, and now he is officially losing his noble title. He is getting cut off from the family for good. Rachel asks if she can stay in her position, and Rose gives her a big smile. She tells her she is still the go-to person for the job. Rose lets out a sigh of relief that the family name is safe. Seeing her mom at peace finally lets her relax. Rachel promises that her son is still out there somewhere and wants everyone back home once the dust settles. She is ready to scrub Richard and his squad out of existence before that day comes. Rose can only hope that Arsh really is out there somewhere. Rachel is convinced her child is alive because a mother's intuition never misses. Fine claps her hands together with a plan. That is right. She cheers, while Rose's mind starts racing about the mother-in-law she just spoke with. The Queen has a big idea. Ashera, let us pray together for your dad's safety, she suggests, catching the little one completely off guard. Rose is shook that the Queen is being so casual. A tiny fine adds that their double blessing might just be the miracle boost they need. Rose tries to keep it real, pointing out that the goddess usually ignores personal messages. Fine is not hearing it though, insisting that a pure wish for someone dear is never a waste of time. Our girl Ashera is all in. Even if she thinks she is powerless, she is determined to pray for her family's sake and asks for Arsh to be kept safe. Eyes closed, total focus. She knows Arsh is not her biological dad, but he is everything to her mum and grandma, so she is putting her whole heart into this. The prayer gets intense. She is asking for healing for any wounds and for every chain holding him back to finally snap. Fine was hyped for our girl. She promised that the prayer definitely reached the goddess this time, even if there was no flashy sign like at the church. Suddenly, the energy bar hit zero. Ashera could feel the heavy sleepiness taking over as she officially reached her limit for the day. Rachel stepped in right as the nap time alarm went off. It was way past the usual schedule, and the queen could only watch as her tiny student finally tapped out. Fine offered up her own room for the nap and prepared to lead the way. Before they left, she called Rachel out by her formal title to get her full attention. The queen dropped a total bombshell. The missing Christia eye finally responded, and the weight of that relief was enough to leave Rachel completely speechless. The palace is on high alert tonight. Priest Rent just dropped some major news, and now the heavy hitters are gathering for an emergency meeting. Meet Duke Criswin and Duke Crisfia, already looking like they are ready for some serious business. The introductions keep coming as Duke Cristea and Duke Cristia join the chat. They are clearly shaken by whatever Rent just reported. Cristia is not wasting any time, demanding the former high priest repeat that bombshell information immediately. Rent doubles down on the report in front of the king and queen. He confirms that Lord Rhoden officially verified the big secret. Little Ashera is not just some kid. She is actually carrying a direct divine blessing from the goddess herself. High Priest Karen is trying to piece the puzzle together while the crowd buzzes with questions. Duke Cristia pipes up to clarify the family tree for everyone. Turns out Lady Rose is part of the Cristia house and married into his family as his son's wife. The Duke takes a moment to process the foundling situation. He knows Rose has been raising Ashera as her own, but the vibe in the room is shifting as they realize there is much more to this story. Then comes the real kicker that leaves everyone speechless. It has not been formally announced yet, but that little girl has a very specific trait. She has actually inherited the legendary eyes of Cristia. The priest looks right at Duke Cristia and confirms the undeniable match. Her eyes are the spitting image of his own. The Duke just nods, admitting he was totally surprised when he first met Ashera earlier today and saw the resemblance. Duke Cristia explains that having Richard and his wife in the family was exactly why they had to keep things under wraps. It is all about damage control when you have parasites in the bloodline. He calls them parasites within the lion's body, which is a major burn. Luckily, High Priest Rent came through with the intel needed to finally expose their messy behavior. Richard is currently rotting in the noble jail with his magic sealed and zero signal to the outside world. This is the perfect window to officially kick him out of the political game for good. The Duke suggests a spicy alternative and proposes sending Richard straight to the battlefield. He turns to the king to see if the big boss is on board with this plan. While Richard is away, they plan to scrub his entire operation for more dirt. The king gives the green light, sentencing him to a year of military service at the Ambral border under heavy surveillance. The order is clear: strip him of his title and treat him like any other common soldier. Richard is officially getting demoted from noble to commoner in real time. The Duke worries Richard might try to bite back at the throne once he is cornered. The king just smirks and tells him to let the man try, because he is not getting taken down that easily. High Priest Karen is having a hard time wrapping her head around the king's mercy. She figures Richard should be thanking his lucky stars. He didn't get the death penalty for that massive theft. The Duke isn't buying it for a second. He explains that a man that rotten doesn't know the meaning of the word humble, leaving Karen feeling a bit out of the loop. The atmosphere gets even heavier. The Duke tells her that one meeting would be enough to see the real Richard, making her realize there is a much darker side to the story. Then he drops the cold hard truth. He reveals that any priest with sharp enough senses would be horrified by the sheer number of people Richard has sent to the grave. Turns out a priest saw the pure darkness hiding inside him years ago. It is the main reason why Richard hasn't stepped foot near a temple in ages. The Duke admits he knew Richard crossed the point of no return a long time ago. Karen finally connects the dots, realizing high-ranking nobles can see the same spiritual filth that priests do. Despite all the bodies in his closet, Richard still thinks his own kid is going to take over the family. The Duke just looks down, knowing the man was never worthy of the legendary eyes of Cristia. The Duke makes a cold point about divine selection. A man with a body count like that was never going to get the goddess's seal of approval. Karen just stays quiet, processing the heavy vibe. Karen breaks the silence with a question that hits like a truck. She asks point blank if Richard is even truly part of the bloodline. The Duke just listens as she drops the ultimate doubt about the family tree. The Duke spills some tea on the family tree. Richard was the son of a second wife, born a couple years after she joined the house. Since the special eyes are so rare, the Duke just assumed Richard drew the short straw. The Duke repeats Karen's theory back to her. If a guy is this spiritually rotten, maybe he doesn't belong in the goddess's lineage at all. The suspicion is officially out in the open. There is a major catch though. Even if the theory is true, there's zero proof since the mother is gone. Plus, the laws on marriage and divorce in this kingdom are locked down tight. Karen isn't afraid to say the quiet part out loud. She suggests the second wife might have had a little side quest with a younger noble back in the day. The Duke is speechless while she lets that spicy theory hang in the air. Karen isn't letting this go. She asks to tag along for the next face-to-face with Richard. She has got a hunch and needs to confirm it for herself. The king officially tasked the Duke with handling the punishment. He is set to meet Richard face-to-face very soon. The legal talk starts getting technical, even if Richard is a total fraud. The Duke points out that the lie belongs to his mother, not him. Karen drops a bombshell about her secret ability to see spiritual connections. She claims there are only 2 living people with actual ties to the Duke's bloodline. The math finally adds up. One link is obviously little Asherah, which means Richard is officially a fraud with 0 claim to the family line. The Duke is low-key shook by Karen's spiritual DNA test. He admits he didn't know she could see that deep into someone's history. His Majesty gives the green light. He knows the truth is a weapon, even if they can't legally blame Richard for his own birth. Karen thanks the king and prepares to drop her final point. The king agrees that losing the prestigious family name is already a devastating blow to Richard's standing. Karen asks for a private meet with little Asherah to check the colour of the soul bond before facing Richard. The queen does not hesitate and grants full permission for a session the next day. The vibe shifts as the conversation turns to the front lines. With Richard slated for a year in Amble, the planned invasion is officially pushed to next year. They decide to handle the kingdom of Uld first. Reports come in that rebel forces have already managed to infiltrate the royal capital there. Duke Daryl apparently risked his life travelling alone to beg for an intervention. He wants the Uld royal family taken down to save his suffering people. The council decides to spend the autumn prepping so they can take Uld by winter. The Queen looks to Duke Crisfia for the final stamp of approval. Crisfia knows a winter campaign is basically a nightmare, but he is down for it. He makes one request, asking for Rhoden to be assigned directly to the squad. Karen chimes in and requests Link for her own offensive. The Duke grants it since Link was actually the former student with perfectly compatible magic. The Duke locks in the timeline for his move to Amberl, counting on the full support of the council to back him up. But the room goes quiet when a sudden concern is raised about who is going to actually keep little Asherah safe once the men are deployed. The Queen admits they need the manpower for the front, but the Duke suggests the royal palace might be the only place secure enough for the kid. Fine decides to keep the kid under Rose's wing for now, starting with an official royal audience scheduled for tomorrow morning. The vibe gets heavy as the council realizes that separating the kid from her real home is going to be a total tearjerker. The Duke tries to stay logical, arguing that safety is the top priority until the threat from Richard and his wife is finally gone. She might be the future of the entire duchy, but right now she just needs to feel like she actually belongs there. The Duke points out that everyone is ignoring the kid's feelings. He thinks breaking up the family like this is a terrible idea. Richard is only the beginning of their problems. Now that she is blessed, every hunter in the kingdom will be trying to track her down. With their manpower stretched thin, the palace is the only spot left with enough security. Even Her Majesty has been targeted before, so they cannot take any chances. Stan suggests the palace is her best bet for survival. The rest of the council agrees and locks in the plan immediately. The Duke is worried about making the toddler cry, but the vibe suddenly shifts. A heavy presence fills the room as the lights vanish. Pure chaos as the room goes pitch black. Even their strongest magic cannot spark a flame in this void. This is no normal blackout. The priest realizes the goddess's crystal is reacting, and the atmosphere feels heavy with divine intent. Duke Cristea immediately starts shouting apologies while the council reels from the goddess's dark mode. The room realizes that this level of divine denial is unheard of. The verdict is in, since the goddess said no. Asherah is staying exactly where she is with her trading company family. Everyone is just stunned into silence as the weight of the situation sinks in. One of the dukes looks like he is about to have a midlife crisis. Even the experts are baffled. Usually the crystal just turns black, but manifesting actual darkness is a miracle that has not happened in recorded history. The Queen steps in with the final word. She makes it clear that the goddess wants Asherah to have her freedom, and they are not about to argue with the deity. The plan is set to play the long game. They will let her stay with her adoptive family for now and wait for her to return to the noble house on her own terms. They are not leaving her unprotected. Every major house and the royal palace are sending their elite magic guards to keep her safe. The Duke suggests visiting the Partia house to coordinate the security detail personally. The Queen is already on board, declaring that she wants to head out and meet Asherah as early as tomorrow. Queen Fine gives her blessing to the plan as long as the palace schedule allows for it. The Duke finally lets out a sigh of relief, glad that the tense situation is finally settling down. The other council members offer a formal apology for not considering the little girl's feelings during their debate. Duke Cristea tells them to forget about it, acknowledging that they were only trying to ensure her safety. The mood takes a sudden turn when the Duke starts gushing about his granddaughter with a huge grin. He can't stop himself from telling everyone just how incredibly adorable she is. What started as a serious meeting turns into a full-on doting contest between the nobles. Everyone starts bragging about their own grandkids, completely forgetting the heavy atmosphere from earlier. Queen Fine thanks everyone for staying so late and tells them to head to their private chambers to rest. Before he leaves, the Duke stands up to catch Rachel for a quick word. High Priest Karen issues a strict command for the Duke's upcoming visit with the child. He needs to use magic to mask his eye colour, ensuring that no one discovers the truth about her secret lineage just yet. The priest suggests a slightly darker green to keep his identity on the down low, even from those who know the Duke well. Our boy is totally on board with the plan. Indeed, they are making moves. It has been a minute since he last had to go undercover like this. He looks at his reflection, remembering how often he used to change his look in this very room. He stares down his own legacy, the legendary Christea gaze that he shares with the little one. Thinking of Arsh, he vows to protect Ashera at all costs as the hype of finally meeting his granddaughter starts to sink in. The bond might be messy right now, but it is not a total break. Somewhere out there, Arsh is still breathing. He cannot wait for the day he can finally deliver the good news. He wants the world to know that the kid is thriving, loved by everyone, and growing up to be absolute peak cute. That's it for today, guys. If you made it to the end, drop a W in the comments so I know you're real ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. Until then, keep on cooking.